Welcome, fam. Welcome to the live. We alive. Stay alive. Live at 5. All right. Let me get you real quick. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, fam. If this is your first time, welcome. You're number one. You're gonna be one of a couple hundred in a minute. Where you watching from? I'm here in sunny Florida. In a little bit, there are gonna be more people jumping in on the live. Just gonna watch some stuff while I'm getting some studying done. So let's go. I got one person in the live right now. Where you watching from, fam? That's a little segment I like to do to shout out my subscribers and people that watch the live. Where you watching the live from? Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live, fam. How you guys doing? Where you guys watching from? Thank you for joining the live, family. How you guys doing? Welcome. Welcome. Thanks for the like. Appreciate you. Where you watching from? Welcome, fam. Where you guys watching from? Welcome back to the live if it's your first time. Blessings, Travis. Thank you. Appreciate that. Blessings right back at you, my brother. Big up. Mark Travis, Michigan, hailing out of Michigan. I lived in Lansing, Michigan for a very brief period of time. I was in the process of getting I did my LSAT. I was going to law school. I went to Thomas M. Cooley in Michigan. Went there for a little while, try to get my law degree, and it's not something that panned out for me. I did not like it there. It was too cold, just wasn't for me. I had to turn that scholarship down. End up not getting my law degree, and I kind of just passed on that one. But do you know where East Lansing is? Big up. Me too. I'm big on the Holy Spirit. Zachary Whitley, welcome to the live. Where you guys watching from? Oh, welcome back, man. Welcome back. Marine City. I don't think I ventured out of Lansing that much. I just kind of I was at school, Thomas M. Cooley, and I just hated the cold, man. I didn't really veer too much out of where I was. I didn't even really get a chance to learn the city, man, because I did a half a semester in law school, and I was like, man, I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm out of there. Zachary is hailing out of Goldsboro, North Carolina, right up the street. I'm here in beautiful Florida. Okay, cool. North Carolina's in the house. Close to the Canadian border. That's way up there, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm Jamaican, and I don't know what it is with Jamaicans, man. They love to go to cold-ass places, man, but I don't have that in my DNA, man. I'm in sunny South Florida, and that's where I put my roots, and I don't see myself living anywhere else. Maybe Atlanta, Georgia, maybe North Carolina, to where it stays warm. But man, if I had to leave Florida, I don't know where I go, man. Mark Travis hailing out of Hawaii. Is that how you pronounce it? Hawaii. What's the weather like in Marine City? Here it's hot as hell. We've been having a lot of rains out in South Florida. A lot of rains. We have 47 people in the live. Hit that chat. Let me hail you up. See where you watching from, fam. I know I have a lot of people from out of the country. We got people locally in Florida. 80 degrees. Nah, it's not that bad. It's summertime, right? So it should be pretty hot. Welcome, Luke, to the live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys for joining. Oh, I'm on the beach. Nice. Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, I live close to the beach. I live not too far from South Beach. There's multiple beach close to me because I'm not that far away from the Keys. So, I mean, I can get to the beach anytime. I'm not really a beach fan. I grew up in Jamaica, man. So, I'm probably say I'm beached out. I'm beached out. Yeah, that was a little lame. Sizzle Moon, welcome to the live. Thank you, thank you. All right, guys. Today I'm not gonna tirade, not gonna do too much commentary today, simply because I got some studying to do. I'm in the medical field, so I'm in school right now, so I got to get some studying done. But while I'm studying, I like to, I can do two things at the same time. I can study and listen to the news. So I got my books here. I'm gonna be right here watching you guys go ham in the comments. But we're just gonna watch Caroline Leavett go ham on what's been going on in our country. We know some people lost their lives in the recent Texas flooding. Our hearts go out to these people, their families, and just imagine if you had to go through a disaster right now and lose everything, and on top of losing everything, guys, you lose a loved one. That must be hard. There's not much you can say. I mean, mothers losing kids, both older and younger, wives losing their husbands, their sons, husbands losing their wives, their kids. I think 90 people lost their lives, man. And to be honest with you, man, we're gonna take the time out and do a moment of silence for everyone that lost their lives during the Texas flooding. After all they've been through with how immigration is and how they've been flooding that state with cartel members and drugs and all that stuff, let's take a moment of silence, man, to show respect to all these people that lost their lives. All right, guys. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate everyone for not even commenting while we were taking that moment of silence. Again, that moment of silence goes out to all the families or the people that lost their lives in Texas. For us, I'm in Florida. Florida is kind of like Texas. It's like a no-nonsense, common-sense state. So definitely, like I was saying earlier, if I had to move, I think I'd move to Texas. I love hunting. I love firearms. I love everything Texas has to offer. So that's probably one state that I would move to. And with that said, guys, I'm not gonna stay too long. We're just gonna listen to Caroline give us an update on what's going on around the country, then watch a couple more videos, and then at the end, I'm gonna come by with my closing comments. And with that said, guys, thank you guys very much. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, please. It costs nothing to just give a subscribe. I do these lives almost every other day. Sometimes I do 2 days in a row. Sometimes I go, I'll go 2 or 3 days not doing the live. But I love doing this, man. I already watch the news. Why not watch it with some subscribers? And with that said, guys, let's go.
Including the President of the United States, is praying for the victims' families and friends during this unimaginable time. President Trump swiftly signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, Texas, to devastation from the tragic flash floods in Texas. Moments ago, the Department of Homeland Security provided an update that 91 innocent souls have now perished.
91, there you go.
Here at the White House, including the President of the United States, is praying for the victims' families and friends during this unimaginable time. President Trump swiftly signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, Texas, to ensure our heroic first responders have every resource they need in the relief and recovery efforts. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem traveled to Texas over the weekend, and the entire Trump administration is working hand in glove with state and local officials to provide every assistance available. The situation on the ground remains dangerous, and there could be additional public safety threats with potential incoming heavy rain. So we encourage everyone in the area to remain vigilant, listen to all warnings, and respond accordingly. Unfortunately, in the wake of this once-in-a-generation natural disaster, we have seen many falsehoods pushed by Democrats such as Senator Chuck Schumer and some members of the media. Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie, and it serves no purpose during this time of national mourning. Here are the facts. In the lead up to this tragic natural disaster, the National Weather Service did its job. Despite unprecedented rainfall, the National Weather Service executed timely and precise forecasts and warnings. On July 3rd, the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio, Texas, conducted forecast briefings for emergency management in the morning and issued a flood watch in the early afternoon. Flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd and in the early morning of July 4th, giving preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flooding conditions occurred. In the National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which delivers forecasts for Austin, San Antonio, and the surrounding areas, had extra staff on duty during the storms, despite claims of the contrary. So to any person who has deliberately lied about these facts surrounding this catastrophic event, you should be deeply ashamed. At this time, the administration's focus will be on giving the victims and their communities the support they deserve during these recovery efforts in this tragic time. May God bless the great people of Texas, especially the parents who have lost their children. President Trump loves you. We are praying for you, and he will be traveling to see you later this week. Moving along to some further scheduling announcements. Tonight, President Trump will host the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, for dinner, where they will discuss the positive developments taking place in the Middle East region. Tomorrow, the President will host his 6th cabinet meeting of his 2nd term. Many of you will be invited to cover that. And on Wednesday, the President will host leaders from 5 African nations for lunch in the state dining room. In other news, after the historic signing on the South Lawn of the White House on the 4th of July, President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill is now the law of the land. Republicans in Congress met the once-in-a-generation moment and codified the Make America Great Again agenda into law. After this monumental achievement, no other president in modern history has worked harder and faster to fulfill their campaign promises than Donald Trump. The One Big Beautiful Bill will get the United States of America firing again on all cylinders. It's safe to say that over the past few weeks, the president has delivered on many, many wins. For the 4th month in a row, jobs numbers beat market expectations with nearly 150,000 good jobs created in the month of June. The American economy has now added nearly 700,000 jobs since January 2025, with American-born workers accounting for all job gains. President Trump drove illegal border crossings to another historic low in the month of June, and Border Patrol once again released 0 illegal aliens into our country. The Supreme Court stopped activist judges from imposing nationwide injunctions and cleared the way for President Trump to carry out his popular and common sense agenda. The University of Pennsylvania agreed to all of the Trump administration's demands and will now keep men out of women's sports. President Trump secured his trade deal with Vietnam, giving the United States total access to their markets. Because of President Trump's unleashing American energy dominance, gas prices are at 4-year lows. And when adjusted for inflation, gas prices are near the lowest levels we've seen in the last 20 years. NATO members agreed to raise defense spending to 5% of GDP, a foreign policy feat long thought impossible until President Trump made it happen. The Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities, taking out this imminent national security threat not just to the United States, but to the entire world. The president secured a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, ending the 12-day war. The president brokered a historic peace agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Pakistan nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, In recognition of his decisive diplomatic intervention to prevent a nuclear war between India and Pakistan, blue-collar wage growth has seen its largest increase in nearly 60 years, and President Trump has defeated Joe Biden's inflation crisis with core inflation at the lowest level since March of 2021. And just about all of that has happened in the last 3 weeks, and I know you all know it because you've been very busy here covering it along with us. So with that, I will take your questions today as we kick off another very busy week here at the White House. We'll lead with our new media seat, Brian Glenn, who is, of course, very present in this briefing room. He's put in a lot of hours covering this president, so we're glad you finally have a seat today. Brian, go ahead.
It feels great to sit down. Thank you very much. I want to go back to the hurricane. You said that President Trump is scheduled to go to Texas later this week. Can you speculate on what day and what he has plans?
Sure. The White House is currently arranging those travel plans. We hope that it will be later this week, likely on Friday, but of course we want to do it at the most appropriate time on the ground for state and local officials. We don't want to interrupt the recovery efforts, but we're planning tentatively for a Friday trip, and when that becomes final, we'll let all of you know, as we always do.
And you gave a little bit of reaction earlier, but the National Weather Service, the union, actually publicly stated they had an adequate staff on hand to forecast, predict the storm. You shared your thoughts earlier on how the way the left has really weaponized this to blame the deaths in Texas on Trump. Want to comment on that again?
Yeah, I just do think those comments are depraved and despicable, especially when so many Americans are mourning the loss of their children. The National Weather Service, as I said, did its job. Many experts, many meteorologists have said that. Many of you in the media, in all fairness, have said that as well. Unfortunately, not all. And many Democrat elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game, and it is not. This is a national tragedy, and the administration is treating it as such. We know the National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings. They gave out timely flash flood alerts. There were record-breaking lead times in the lead up to this catastrophe. There is ongoing flood monitoring, and these offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false, and it's just sad that people are pushing these lies.
Can I just get one more?
Sure.
Kind of a little bit of breaking news. The Department of Homeland Security is moving to end the TPS status on Honduran and Nicaraguan migrants.
Yes.
Any plans to adding additional countries that you could be targeting? Just a reaction.
Sure. Well, I won't get ahead of the Department of Homeland Security on additional countries, but as you pointed out, they did end temporary protective status for Nicaraguans and Hondurans in this country because TPS, temporary protective status, is temporary by definition. It is not meant to be a permanent path to residency or citizenship here in the United States of America. It was originally granted to Nicaraguans following a natural disaster in 1999. That doesn't sound very temporary to me. And as well as Hondurans in 1999 after the impact of Hurricane Mitch in 1998. And so this administration is doing what it promised to do. And if individuals from these countries want to come here, they have a legal pathway to do it, but temporary protective status was never meant to be permanent. The previous administration abused this status and this parole program, essentially treating it as such, and we're not going to tolerate that any further. Thank you, Brian. Megan.
State is now promising something big for 2025, a new regulated program that guarantees your family will be paid out when the time comes. It's called the 2025 Family Protection Program. It's helping Americans leave behind up to $40,000 to cover funeral costs, medical bills, or simply to pass on to their loved ones. The best part, there's no medical exam. Coverage starts on day one, and your rates, benefits, and eligibility can never be taken away.
I've lived through this twice. When my mom passed, no savings, no insurance. Just a mess to clean up. Then again, when my best friend's dad died, you never expect it. And without a plan, you leave your family to figure it out during the worst moment of their lives.
The president said yesterday that countries will boomerang back to the April 2nd tariff levels starting August 1st. Why did the president decide to have those tariffs not take effect Wednesday as originally scheduled? And I was also wondering if you could share, obviously we saw the letters the president sent out on Japan and South Korea, but if any other major U.S. trading partners are getting letters today.
Sure, yes, I can confirm. In fact, I have those letters. If you could get me the folder with the letters in them, Liz, they're right in the previous office. I have the signed letters that went out to both South Korea and Japan today. And there will be approximately 12 other countries that will receive notifications and letters directly from the President of the United States. And weeks ago, I stood at this podium and I told all of you that the president was going to create tailor-made trade plans for each and every country on this planet. And that's what this administration continues to be focused on. The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate, or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders, will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made, and those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American worker. That's what they're focused on. And in the effort of transparency, these letters will continue to be posted to Truth Social, so you can enjoy them yourself. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Just about the visit of Prime Minister Netanyahu today, I was just wondering why that is not open to the press. And previous visits by him, we've had Oval Office press conferences. Does that reflect somehow the kind of sensitivity of this particular visit?
No, they're having a private dinner. There's many important matters that are obviously ongoing in the region, as you know. The utmost priority for the president right now in the Middle East is to end the war in Gaza and to return all of the hostages. Also, as you know, there was a ceasefire proposal that Israel supports that was sent to Hamas, and we hope that they will agree to this proposal. We want to see all of the hostages released. That's on the top of the president's mind, so that will be discussed, as well as the many other positive developments we've seen in the Middle East. I want to go back to the trade deals. As you see, we have these beautiful letters that the president has signed. This one is to the President of the Republic of Korea, original signature on that, and these will be mailed. And then here we also have another letter to the Prime Minister of Japan as well. Both countries will be receiving a 25% tariff rate effective on August 1st. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. You said it, and the president said it many times, he wants to see an end to the war in Gaza. Will he give guarantees during this 60-day period of ceasefire that actually the war will end? Because this is a sticking point with Prime Minister Netanyahu. And how many do you see eye to eye on this point? And how do you see the next day? What the next day in Gaza will look like?
Look, right now the president is focused on today and to get the Hamas to agree to this ceasefire. I don't want to comment on the details of the arrangement out of respect for these negotiations, but an agreeable and appropriate ceasefire proposal has been sent to Hamas. And I can also tell you Special Envoy Witkoff intends to travel to Doha later this week, where he will continue to engage in these discussions. And the Qataris and the Egyptians have been incredibly helpful partners in mediating these negotiations and discussions to bring peace to this region and end this conflict once and for all. Kristen.
Two questions, thank you, Carol.
Sure.
The first question is President Trump reconsidering his plan to phase out FEMA, given what officials have said is their critical role on the ground now in Texas?
Look, the president wants to ensure American citizens always have what they need during times of need. Whether that assistance comes from states or the federal government, that's a policy discussion that will continue. And the president has always said he wants states to do as much as they can, if not more. And in the case of Texas, the state and local officials are doing a tremendous job. And I know the president, Secretary Noem, and the federal government are very proud to be working with them. And the president has promised to give Texas the assistance that they need during this tragic time.
Just one follow-up on cuts overall. Over the weekend, President Trump said that Elon Musk was a train wreck. Are there, given this current viewpoint, are there concerns within the White House or from the president himself over the cuts that happened under Musk while he was advising DOGE, including the National Weather Service?
I think I've already addressed that, Kristen, and what I can tell you is that these offices were fully staffed. The San Angelo office was fully staffed with 12 forecast meteorologists. There were no vacancies. The San Antonio office was operating with 11 forecasters. And as Brian said, the union themselves said that there was adequate staffing. So I think those words speak for themselves, and the numbers speak for themselves. This was a once-in-a-century flash flood, a tragic natural disaster, and the administration is doing all that we can on the ground to help these families during this time of need. Jeff.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Just following up on Kristen's question, is it still the president's plan to phase FEMA out by the end of this year?
I just answered Kristen's question for you.
And one more, hold on, one more.
Sure, I'll give it to you. Go ahead.
The follow-up on trade as well. 12 more letters coming, he said. Can you give us a sense of which countries those are?
I'll let the president reveal those in very due time. Keep your eyes on Truth Social. Michael, in the back.
Thank you, Caroline. An armed shooter at FIG was shot in McAllen, Texas, after opening fire on Border Patrol agents. Comes
comes just days after Democratic Congresswoman Pravia Jayapal recently said she gets, quote, inspired when activists obstruct ICE. Does the White House expect Democrats to tone down their rhetoric in light of what we saw today in Canal, Texas?
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to enforce the law. They go home to their families every night just like we all do, and they deserve respect and dignity for trying to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to remove public safety threats from our communities. The White House is aware of the shooting that took place today in Texas, and we are working with the appropriate federal agencies to get to the bottom of what happened.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because frankly it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Follow up on that.
Sure.
Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News. Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. They promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
Thanks, Caroline. With Prime Minister Netanyahu visiting the White House today, yesterday the president said that he was working on a more permanent deal with Iran, but several days ago he didn't think one was necessary. What changed?
Well, when you asked me about this, or when you all asked me about this several weeks ago, I said the president thought maybe an Iran deal was not necessary, but of course the president is always interested in peace and diplomacy. That remains true, and the administration continues to be in contact, both directly and indirectly, with the Iranians on a deal.
And then on tariffs, you're now delaying the deadline from July 9th to August 1st. Is that an acknowledgement that perhaps the administration found it more difficult to negotiate these trade deals, or whatever happened to 90 deals in 90 days?
No, it's an acknowledgement that this administration is doing what's best for the American worker, and we want the best deals possible for our workers, for our manufacturing base, for our middle class, and they are doing this deliberately and appropriately on behalf of our country's interests. Josh.
A couple more on the tariffs. You said about 12 more letters. There were about 55 or so countries, including the EU as a bloc, that were facing this tariff increase. All of those, to understanding correctly, are now deferred to August 1st, right?
Correct.
Of the 12, what happens with the remaining, whatever it would be, 40
So just 12 today. There will be additional letters in the coming days.
We're going to get a letter at some point.
Correct.
Okay, and can you tell me why he decided to start with South Korea and Japan? Are they annoying?
It's the president's prerogative, and those are the countries he chose.
Sectoral tariffs, our understanding of these continue to be a separate threat. We're still waiting on a bunch of
That's right.
Any timing update on when he's going to move on, for instance, semiconductor tariffs? the things that are still in the offer?
I don't have a timing update, but for where they are in the process, I would defer you to the Department of Commerce.
Do you expect deals finally, as well? He announced his Vietnam deal. Are you close on any other countries?
The president and the administration, yes, we are close, but again, the president wants to ensure these are the best deals possible. And I would add just one more thing on trade and tariffs to wrap it up. Look at the extensive work this president has put into cutting these good deals and doing what's right for the American worker. He is literally looking at the map and looking at every country on the planet and seeing where they are ripping off the American people, seeing where they have hollowed out our industrial base, seeing where our jobs have gone to other countries overseas because of their tariff policies, and he's trying to correct that. So this is decades of bad trade policy that has led to a deficit that is ravaging our country, that is ravaging our middle class, and the president is taking a very deliberate approach to correcting this wrong of many decades, of many past presidents. And so I think he should be commended for the time and the effort that he is putting into this. And the fact that he has announced a framework with China, a trade deal with the United Kingdom, a trade deal with Vietnam, and many others to come in just a matter of 6 months is truly historic, and it's a testament to this president and his trade team who are working around the clock to get this done. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Caroline. There's 2 questions on Iran. What's the permanent deal with Iran looks like for the president, and what issues related to Iran should it cover? And secondly, has the president seen the interview with Iranian president, which he says that the United States president, Mr. Trump, is capable enough to guide the regions toward a peace and brighter future, and put Israel in its place, or it gets more into conflict? Has the president seen these comments, and what's his reaction to these comments?
I'm not sure if he's seen those comments, but certainly I think it's true that the president is the right man for the job to move the direction, this region into the direction of peace and stability for the future. That's what he and his national security team are working on every day, and we've already seen historic achievements in that direction. Go ahead. In the back. Kelly, go ahead. Sure. And then in front of you.
A couple questions for you. First,
y'all need name tags.
First question on the flooding in Texas. I know there has been some concern about the timing of the alerts, knowing that they did go out, with the warnings coming out in the wee hours, so while many people were likely sleeping. Can you share just details what you know about why those warnings were sent while people were likely sleeping, and then what the administration is doing to ensure that these alerts come out sooner?
Well, the alerts imminently were sent out before the flood when people were sleeping, because the flood hit in the very early hours of the morning. So people were sleeping in the middle of the night when this flood came. That was an act of God. It's not the administration's fault that the flood hit when it did. But there were early and consistent warnings. And again, the National Weather Service did its job. On July 2nd, there were initial notices of potential weather and flooding risks were issued. On July 3rd, escalating warnings throughout the day with a flood watch issued at 1:18 p.m. And then later at 6:10 p.m. on July 3rd, the Weather Prediction Center warned of excessive rainfall and a high likelihood of flash flooding. 6:22 p.m. July 3rd, National Weather Center issued a hydraulic warning highlighting considerable flooding risks, including in Carroll County. And then there were the timely flash flood alerts at 11:41 p.m., 1:14 a.m., and then another flash flood emergency warning issued at 4:03 a.m. just before the flood hit. So those were all of the warnings that went out to the affected area and region. Go ahead.
Question on education funding
Go
for
ahead.
Thank you
states
very
and
much. I
local
appreciate it,
districts.
Caroline. 2 questions for you related to the Prime Minister's visit today. Number 1, there's a report circulating that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation provided a proposal to the White House to build these so-called humanitarian transit areas inside and outside of Gaza. The GHF is insistent it has nothing to do with that proposal. Can you shed any light on whether the White House has received such a proposal, and if so, from whom?
I'm unaware if a proposal from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was sent to the White House. I haven't seen it, but I can ask our National Security Council.
And also a document circulating that the White House is prepared to lift the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation from HTS, the group of President al-Shara in Syria. Can you confirm that that's taking place?
Again, I haven't heard that, or I'm not aware of that action taking place. As you know, we did lift particular sanctions on Syria, but we did leave them on for particular terrorist groups. If that has changed, we will, of course, let you know if there's a change in policy, but I'm unaware of one at this time. Go ahead.
Thank you. Ahead of the president's meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu today, is there a scenario where Israel has made it clear that they will not bring an end to this war until Hamas is decimated? And the president just 5 months ago suggested a potential takeover of Gaza. Is there a situation where tonight the two men will change their posture, and in the scenario that Hamas turns over the remaining hostages, that the war could come to a permanent end, and that they will seek that under that scenario that they would essentially try to bring this war to a permanent end beyond just that 60-day ceasefire?
Again, you're putting a hypothetical situation in the air, so I don't want to comment on that out of respect for these ongoing negotiations and discussions that are taking place. But as for the takeover of Gaza, I don't believe the president ever said that. I think he discussed a rebuilding of Gaza once this war is over. This has become an uninhabitable place for human beings, and the president has a big heart. He wants this to be a prosperous, safe part of the region where people and families can thrive, and there will be a need for a real rebuilding effort when the time comes. But right now we need to end this war, and we need to bring all of the hostages home. The president is adamant about that. Look, again, I will let the president speak for himself later if he decides to comment on the details of the agreement, but out of respect for the discussions, I won't do that from the podium. Go ahead.
So Congressman Lawler and Gottheimer have introduced a bill in Congress, the Bunker Buster Act, that would allow the United States to sell B-2 bombers and bunker buster bombs to Israel. Is that something the president would support?
Well, I don't know if the president's aware of the Bunker Buster Act, but I will ask him and see what his opinion on that is. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Building off of the question earlier about the shooter in Texas who targeted ICE, Axios reported today, I believe, that Democrat lawmakers were saying their constituents are calling on them to be more violent when they go to ICE facilities, including, I believe, they want them to shed blood, and that they said that Democrat lawmakers should be willing to get shot themselves. Can you respond to that, and do you have concerns that any of these lawmakers might act on the wishes of their constituents?
It's hard to believe anyone with morals in this country or decency would say such a thing. Obviously, the White House condemns that rhetoric, and we condemn violence of any kind. This administration is simply trying to enforce our laws, and we must be a nation of law and order. You cannot simply waltz across our border and live here illegally and expect to stay. We are going to enforce our nation's laws, and the men and women who are doing that are doing so in a respectful way. They are doing so within the confines of the law, and they are just trying to do their jobs. And we condemn any violence or any calls for violence of any kind against any American. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I wanted to ask you if...
I was not calling on you, but you can go ahead. It's fine. There's a lot of people in here today.
President Trump already saw the letter that the Colombian president Gustavo Petro sent him, apologizing for his comments a few weeks ago, suggesting that there was an involvement from the U.S. government in an alleged coup d'etat in Colombia. And Secretary Rubio recalled the U.S. Charter d'Affaires in Colombia. Did President Trump saw that letter, and what do you think about the comments from President Petro suggesting that the U.S. has some kind of involvement in a coup?
I'm not sure if the president has seen that letter, but I can check with him and the National Security Council. We will get you a response. If you follow up with my team, we will find out for you. Sure, go ahead. Iris, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. On two topics. First,
I love how excited everyone is on Monday. Yes, for Kelly, you can go ahead.
On two topics. First, tariffs. The president announced last night that any countries aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged with an additional 10% tariff. Can you tell us more details on that? What specific policies is the president talking about here? What policies should countries stay away from to avoid being subject to additional tariffs?
Sure. Well, the president feels, generally speaking, that BRICS is seeking to undermine the interests of the United States. It's the president's utmost responsibility to put the interests of the United States first. That's how he views his job as president. So he's going to ensure that America is fairly treated on the world stage, and he'll take any action necessary to prevent countries from taking advantage of the United States and our people. Raquel, go ahead.
Illegal immigrants. Registrars Tom Holman told us this morning that ICE will have to arrest 7,000 illegal immigrants every day for the remainder of this administration to just catch the ones that were let in during the last administration. I'm wondering if the new resources and manpower, of course, given by the Big Beautiful Bill, which of course opens the door for ICE to hire additional 10,000 agents and officers. What's the administration's expectations now for daily arrest numbers going forward in the upcoming months?
Sure, I'll let the Secretary of Homeland Security and her department speak on what they're looking for in terms of daily numbers. What I can tell you is I receive the daily reports each morning, and ICE is out there doing the jobs that they swore an oath to do, and they are removing public safety threats from our communities every day, and our country is becoming a safer place because of their efforts. And the One Big Beautiful Bill that is now law will give significant resources to ICE and Border Patrol to continue the tremendous work that they are already doing. And I think every American who wants to live in a safe neighborhood should be grateful for their efforts.
Thank you,
Raquel, and then I can go to you. And then you, Dr. Harper.
Thank you, Caroline. It's a follow-up on the BRICS question. So does President Trump believe that the BRICS are getting stronger or trying to isolate the United States? And how close is he monitoring this summit that is taking place in Brazil right now?
He's closely monitoring it, which is why he put out a statement himself. He does not perceive these countries as growing stronger. He just perceives them as trying to undermine the United States' interests, and that's not okay with him, no matter how strong or weak a country may be. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
As promised, yes, go ahead.
Does Trump have a vision for post-war Gaza? You mentioned, talking about now the ceasefire. Does he support permanent or temporary Israeli presence in the Gaza Strip? Does he continue to see continued role for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to continue to operate in the Gaza Strip?
Well, as you know, because we've talked about it before, the president has directed aid to be moved into the region, and that has been taking place. You've actually seen people in the Gaza Strip yelling out, "Thank you, Trump," for the aid and for the meals that they have received, because the previous administration never did that for some reason. But this president, again, wants to see peace and stability in the region. So as I outlined previously, he views this part of the region as having a real chance of being peaceful and prosperous. But again, we need to end this war. We need to get all the hostages home, and Hamas needs to accept this proposal in order to do that. Dr. Harper.
Dr. Anthony Harper with Intermountain Christian News. Thank you for taking my questions. Given the nature of the Palestinian Authority, with their pay to slave, teaching Jew hatred to children, corrupt leaders, and no elections for 19 years, who does President Trump support to govern Area A and Area B to prevent Hamas from ruling? And what is President Trump's position on Israeli sovereignty?
Sure. Well, the president believes Israel, of course, has a right to defend itself. As for the first part of your question, you're getting ahead, Dr. Harper. As I told you, the president wants Hamas to accept this proposal right now. He wants to see peace in this region, and he's committed to doing that. Sean.
Hey, Caroline, can you just please walk us through the decision to halt the supply of weapons to Ukraine at a time when Russia is really hitting Ukrainian cities and civilians? Was that the president who decided that, or did the Pentagon do it without his approval?
No, neither of those things are true. I'm happy to walk you through it. This was a standard review by the Pentagon of all weapons and all aid and all support that the United States is providing all countries and all regions around the world, not just Ukraine. When the Secretary of Defense took office, he directed the Pentagon to conduct this review to ensure that everything that's going out the door aligns with America's interests. So it's a pause to review to ensure that everything the Pentagon is pushing out there is in the best interest of our military and our men and women in uniform. Fran.
Two questions on Israel. You suggested that Hamas is the impediment currently to a ceasefire. So if not a ceasefire deal, then what does the president hope to achieve with tonight's dinner with the prime minister?
Again, you guys are getting around to a lot of hypotheticals. I don't want to get ahead of the president, but there are many other issues to discuss with Prime Minister Netanyahu tonight related to the region and just the entire world. So this will be a dinner to talk about Operation Midnight Hammer, which was incredibly successful, to talk about peace in Gaza and ending that conflict, as well as many other topics of discussion in relation to Israel and the United States. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Given the fact that this is on the trade letters, given the fact that the president put into effect the tariffs on April 2nd and then put the pause into place, is the president at all concerned that these countries that are receiving the letters won't take them seriously because the deadline seems to have shifted already and may shift again?
They will take the letter seriously because they have taken the president seriously. And that's why the president's phone, I can tell you, rings off the hook from world leaders all the time who are begging him to come to a deal. And this administration is working hard to ensure those deals are in the best interest of the American people. And this delay, again, is in the best interest of the American people. And you all will continue to see these letters released on the President's Truth Social, and we will see you all later. Thank you, guys.
From AI to Bitcoin to space exploration, innovation is here. Daily life is being transformed, legacy industries disrupted, and unprecedented investment opportunities created. But it has only just begun. Are you positioned to capitalize on the future? Introducing the Investment Opportunity Report, your essential guide to investing on the right side of change. We've distilled years of cutting-edge research into 5 actionable investment strategies. We're not just forecasting the future, we're showing you how to capture it. Invest today in the big ideas of tomorrow. Download the Investment Opportunity Report now at arc-funds.com.
I'm Warren Stevens from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I have the honor to represent the President and the United States in Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and to be chosen to go to such an important ally of ours is I know, sir, and I'm looking forward to it, but thank you for the honor.
And you're going to do fantastically. These are tremendously successful people, and you two guys, and then you add on Mike. I think they have a little more money than Mike, but he's got some other advantages. He's got some other, like upstairs, he's got some big advantages. It's very exciting. It's really exciting to have all of you. Would you have any questions, Media, for the people that you just saw? So outstanding, and I thought it would be nice to bring them before you. And so if you have any questions, please.
I wanted to ask about the talks in Saudi Arabia. It sounds like you made some progress on the Black Sea ceasefire. Could you update us on that? What happens now?
So we made a lot of progress on 2 fronts, on both sections that we call them sections, but they're much more than that, Russia, Ukraine, and also the Middle East. And we'll see what happens. We're in deep discussions with Russia and Ukraine. And I would say it's going well, but it's a situation we should have never had to even think about, should have never happened. And in the Middle East, that's been going on for a lot of years, centuries and centuries, it just keeps going. And we are making a lot of progress, so that's all I can report. But some very, very big talks are going and detailed talks are going on right now on both fronts.
Mr. President, you said that your national security advisor learned a lesson after a
Wait a minute, excuse me, I didn't make you, go ahead, please.
Mr. President, the ceasefire agreement that was broken today allows for third-party countries to help implement the agreement. What does that look like, and who's going to be involved?
The ceasefire agreement?
Yes, the maritime ceasefire agreement between Russia and Ukraine.
Well, they're going to get together. Look, they agreed to something and it got broken. There's tremendous animosity. There's a lot of hatred, as you can probably tell. And it allows for people to get together, mediate it, arbitrate it, and see if we can get it stopped. And I think it will. That'll get stopped.
What countries are you looking to work with, sir, to help implement and monitor that ceasefire?
We have other countries involved, and they're involved very strongly in the process. And that'll be resolved. That's actually, as bad as it is, that's the least of the problems. So we'll get that resolved. And we are being aided by other countries too. Yes, please.
Yes. Tomorrow, the subcommittee on DOGE is going to review funding for NPR and PBS. Now, every Republican president has always promised to take away this money that's going to these 2 public news outlets if
this, if they're successful, I know Senator Kennedy has backed it, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congress has backed it, would you be interested in defunding and taking away taxpayer dollars to NPR and PBS?
Well, I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased for the whole group. I mean, a whole group of them. And frankly, there's plenty, look at all the media you have right now. There's plenty of coverage. I was from a different age, and they spend more money than any other network of its type ever conceived. So the kind of money that's being wasted, and it's a very biased view, you know that better than anybody. And I'd be honored to see it end. We're well covered. Look at all the people that we have here today. We're well covered, and we don't need it, and it's a waste of money. Especially, I don't even know what Doge's recommendation is. I assume their recommendation is to close them up.
Well, after they hear all the testimony, I think they're going to make a decision relatively sooner than later.
Yeah.
But we'll see what that turns out.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they wouldn't, because they have found so much waste, fraud, and abuse. Hundreds of billions of dollars, and just waste, fraud, abuse. You heard yesterday some of the new things that were found. 22 billion just in environment, billion. You know, if you had 22 million, Warren, it would be nice, but 22 billion put into environmental accounts. One was 2 billion into one account, Stacey Abrams, where they had $100 in the account. And just before I came in, they put $2 billion. And you guys are looking, so you mean 2 million or maybe 200,000, no, $2 billion were put in the account. What do you think of that, Mike? Do you think that's a straight deal, 2 billion?
Just write me the check, Mr. President.
It's a horrible thing, and we have so many of those things. So they've done an incredible job, and the country wants to hear it. I think Doge is actually very popular because of what's happening. They're hearing about all of these scams and for big money, tremendous amount. When you add it up, just hundreds of billions of dollars being wasted, and much of it's fraud. You know, we talk about waste. And it is waste and abuse, but a lot of it's fraud.
Can I follow up on something?
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
I just want to follow up on that. If Planned Parenthood is defunded, would you look into the harvesting of baby organs that they've done throughout the years and maybe go after some criminal prosecution on that?
Well, I think you're talking about a subject that is a heated subject. And we'll look into it. We'll look into everything, but that's certainly a subject that's been debated for a long time, and we will look into it. Yeah.
Mr. President, some senators have expressed hope that the White House will support a rescission package to codify some of the Doge cuts into law. Where does the White House stand on that? And are you making progress?
Which package?
A rescission package to codify some of the Doge cuts into law.
Yeah, well, it'll be great. I think we're going to do that. I think they're going to do it. I think we're also going to be codifying a lot of the executive orders that we've done, which have been very popular. And we're looking at one, I will tell you right now, that I think perhaps will be controversial, but not with the people, and that's sanctuary cities. We're going to end sanctuary cities for some of these jurisdictions that aren't cooperating with law enforcement. They're guarding criminals. They're taking the rights away from the citizens of this state and their city. And we're going to be ending sanctuary cities if we find it necessary to do in certain major areas. And we may just end the entire thing altogether because it's just a way of protecting criminals. And nobody else is benefited by that. And for some reason, Democrats want to keep and they want to shield criminals from being sent back to their countries or being sent to prison. And in the meantime, the crime rate has gone through the roof. Under Biden, it was through the roof. It's starting to come down, but we're taking a lot of people out of here. So we may be presenting you very shortly with a executive order ending sanctuary cities.
Mr. President, are you going to change any of the practices that your national security officials used after a reporter was inadvertently added to a group chat about attacks on Yemen?
Well, I think it's a question I've been asked now, and I've given a few answers, and they've all been the same. We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. We have had a very successful, numerous attacks on that area. These are people that shoot down ships, not only our ships, ships all over the world. They're shooting down right out of the water and damaging them badly, or they're going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very hard. There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President, you asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. We have a national security team that was coordinating these efforts. As Director Ratcliffe testified today, his first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on. And it's an honor.
We had a very, very successful, we had a very, very successful evening. And we've had numerous successful evenings and days in that area. The Houthis are absolutely on the run. The worst of them have been killed. This should have been done a long time ago by Biden, but Biden was an incompetent president. He couldn't do anything. He didn't know where he was going. He had no clue. This guy had no clue. This should have been done a long time ago. As they shoot missiles at ships, randomly shoot missiles at ships. And they make their own missiles. You know, this is not an incompetent group of people. They make their own missiles. They get the missiles also from Iran. It's an offshoot of Iran, another offshoot. You have Hamas, you have Hezbollah, you have the Houthis. You got a lot of stuff going on with Iran. And we sent a letter to Iran. You're going to have to be speaking to us one way or the other pretty soon because we can't let this happen. But that's an app that a lot of people use. And somebody got on, I mean, happened to know the guy's a total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine, does very, very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this, that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that. He's a very good man. That man is a very good man right there that you criticize so strongly. He's a very good man. And he will continue to do a good job. In addition to him, we had very good people in that meeting, and those people have done a very, very effective job, and you're going to see it. And it goes on, by the way. It's going to go on. And I think the Houthis wish that it didn't happen, but that's what it's all about. We have to create a safe country, a safe world, and that's what we're doing.
But do you worry that national security was put at risk, Mr. President, of senior officials using signal?
Who had planned to ban who?
The use of signal to communicate from senior officials.
Well, I don't know anything about signal. I wasn't involved in this, but I just heard about it. And I hear it's used by a lot of groups. It's used by the media a lot. It's used by a lot of the military, and I think successfully. But sometimes somebody can get onto those things. That's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the situation room with no phones on, which is always the best, frankly. But you know, the best is to be there. In fact, oftentimes I've been in fact, just last week I was in the situation room on something very important, and we had a couple of people hooked up by line, and I said, cancel the line. Sorry, fellas, what you do is we'll tell you all about the meeting, because I know people do get on those lines, whether it's signal or anything else. Yeah.
Are you going to change any procedures as a result of this?
Well, I mean, look, we look at everything, and, you know, they've made a big deal out of this because we've had 2 perfect months. We are bringing in business, we have another one announced tomorrow, a big one, very big. Like, in the history of our country, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think probably, a lot of people are saying they started by saying it was the greatest first month that a president has ever had, and I think that's true. And now they say it's the best second month, and they had to find something. And this certainly will look at this, but the main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. It was, I guess, from what I understand, took place during, and it wasn't classified information. So this was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag, so maybe that's just coincidence, I don't know.
But you are going to conduct
Would
an
it be a
investigation.
problem if the Atlantic released all the text messages if that's not classified?
Well, I'd have to ask the military about that, because, you know, maybe you wouldn't want that, I don't know. I will say this, that from what I heard, the man that we're talking about, who's not somebody that I don't think most people have ever heard of, he found it very boring and he left early. He got off the line very early. So I can't speak to it other than that. So he's made up a lot of stories, and you know, I think he's basically bad for the country. But it's a failing venture, very failing venture. They're very upset, and a thing like this is publicity for them. But I don't think we should allow people that are very good, like that man sitting right at the end of the table, who's done a great job. We shouldn't allow them to be hurt by it. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you saying you're okay with the continued use of signal by administration officials?
No, that's not what I said. I said we'll look into it, but everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the #1 used device or app, whatever you want to call it, and we will certainly look. If it was up to me, everybody would be sitting in a room together. The room would have solid lead walls and a lead ceiling and a lead floor. But, you know, life doesn't always let you do that. In the meantime, the attack itself that we were talking about and discussing has been an unbelievable success.
But you will conduct an investigation, is what you're saying.
We'll look into it, sure.
Mr. President,
I would look into it, sure. I would look
Is that the
into
FBI?
anything like that. I would ask them. It's not really an FBI thing. It's really something having to do with security. Security, like, will somebody be able to break in? Are people able to break into conversations? And if that's true, we're going to have to find some other form of device. And I think that's something that we may have to do. Some people like Signal very much. Other people probably don't. But we'll look into it. I think, Michael, I've asked you to immediately study that and find out. If people are able to break into a system, now in this case, it wasn't that this attack was going on and nobody found out anything. And again, the person that was on, as I understand it, he left very early because he didn't find it very exciting. But I think it's something you should look into.
Yes, sir, we are. We have our technical experts looking at it. We have our legal teams looking at it. And of course, we're going to keep everything as secure as possible. No one in your national security team would ever put anyone in danger. And as you've said, we've repeatedly said, the attack was phenomenal and it's ongoing. But the media wants to talk about everything else except for the hostages you're getting out of the Middle East, Iran on its back foot, sea lanes getting reopened, peace in Europe. As we just saw today with the Black Sea ceasefire, we were just on with Steve Witkoff, myself, our team in Saudi Arabia. They want to talk about all this other stuff except for your amazing successes and the successes of your team.
They move very quickly, and there are other devices that are very good, but they are very, very cumbersome, and you're not able to use them from a practical standpoint. So all we can do is find out the best we have with modern technology. They'll probably get better over the years. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, on the Black Sea, so the Kremlin has said that there are several conditions that would need to be met for this agreement to happen. This includes sanction relief for banks and some companies. Did the U.S. agree to all of those conditions that they laid out?
They will be looking at them, and we're thinking about all of them right now. There are about 5 or 6 conditions. We're looking at all of them.
Mr. President, has said that it's looking
looking into how journalists got added to that signal chat? Is it possible that there could be a firing of even a lower mid-level official once that person is identified?
About what?
About the signal chat that we've been discussing.
We've pretty much looked into it. It's pretty simple, to be honest. It's not, it's just something that can happen. It can happen, you can even prepare for it. It can happen. Sometimes people are hooked in and you don't know they're hooked in. They're hooked into your line and they don't even mean bad by it. But it's not a perfect technology. There is no perfect technology. The really good ones are very cumbersome, very hard to access. And I think we're going to look at, we always want to use the best technology. This was the best technology for the moment. But again, it wasn't classified, so they probably viewed it as being something that wasn't that important. And it, obviously, with the attack being, I mean, I don't know if it's been read out to you yet, but that attack was a tremendous success for the U.S., a tremendous success.
Who said the information
Go ahead,
was
please.
not classified? Do you think that Michael Waltz made a mistake and doesn't need to apologize?
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
That's all right. I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room, and whenever possible.
A lot of times you find out defects by exactly things like that, but I don't think it's something we're looking forward to using again. We may be forced to use it. You may be in a situation where you need speed as opposed to gross safety, and you may be forced to use it, but generally speaking, I think we probably won't be using it very much.
Secretary of Defense, on that chain, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance, Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
You really want me to answer that? Yeah, I think they've been freeloading. The European Union's been absolutely terrible to us on trade, terrible. And as you know, NATO, I got them to pay hundreds of billions of dollars. They were way behind. And if you look even, if you look at Ukraine, so we're in for $350 billion because of Biden. Should have never happened, this war. Should have, all these dead people should not be dead. All these broken cities that are demolished down to the ground, those gorgeous towers, the most beautiful in the world, the most beautiful spires in the world. The spires in Ukraine were said to be the most beautiful of all. Just about every one of them is lying on its side in a million pieces. It's so sad to see what's happened to a heritage. No, I think that, when they say the European Union and you could say NATO also, look, NATO, and I don't blame NATO for this. I don't blame Europe for this. I blame Biden for the fact that he didn't make them equalize. And to this day, I said to him, you got to catch up, you got to equalize. But why are they in for $100 billion and we're in for possibly $350 billion? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And you could say more important for them because we have an ocean in between. So, you know, it's one of those things. You'll be seeing Liberation Day, I call it Liberation Day in America. You're going to be seeing it on April 2nd. Didn't want to do it on April 1st for the obvious reason, April 2nd. But you'll be seeing tariffs. And I think I've been very fair. I have them set. But I think I've been very fair to countries that have really abused us economically for many, many decades.
That information was not classified.
Another
Which is your
question,
national
please,
security
go ahead.
advisor. Just following up on the comments on the economy, there is reports that consumer confidence fell for the fourth straight month. What is your message to Americans who are concerned
Well,
about?
I know this, that for the first time in like 50 years, right track, wrong track, we're on the right track. And I think people see that. And if you look at prices, prices are way down. You know, when I first came here, the first time I met with you people officially, they were screaming at me about eggs. I said, I've been here for a week and I'm being yelled at about eggs. Egg prices have come down 45–50% in the last week and a half. And our Secretary of Agriculture has done a great job, as you know, Brooke. She's done a fantastic job, and others working with her have done a great job. But we brought eggs down at a level that nobody thought we could get at. I inherited that situation, and I inherited a grocery situation. The groceries went way up, an old-fashioned word, but It's a very descriptive word. Groceries have gone through the roof. And I used to campaign on it. I used to say, we're gonna get groceries down, and we have got it down. I watched a certain newscast over the weekend, and a congressman, Democrat congressman, said, well, Trump's done a lot, I agree. He's been great on the border, he's been great on the military, but you know, he hasn't brought prices down. That's false. Gasoline's way down. Eggs are way down. Groceries are down, very substantially, but down. Almost everything's down. Now, I'd like to see interest rates come down a little bit, and you're gonna see billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars coming into our country very soon in the form of tariffs, because we were abused by presidents that frankly, in all fairness, it wasn't their expertise, but they had no idea what they were doing.
So did you say tariffs will create more jobs here in America?
Oh, yeah, sure, it's gonna it'll create a lot of money and more jobs, but if you look, so when these gentlemen would know about it, and ladies, because some of the ladies are great businessmen in this room that are becoming ambassadors, great, really great, top of the line. When you look at the number of companies that have said, like we're close to, I would say close to $4 trillion, we never had numbers like that. The #1 chip maker in the world from Taiwan coming in with $200 billion. We have Apple, look at Apple. $500 billion, $500 billion. They're gonna build plants all over the United States. They were all being built in China. You have many, many companies, and maybe above all, you have the car companies coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We have, Honda is opening up one of the biggest plants in the world in Indiana, and many car companies are coming in. We have AI. We're leading China by a lot in AI. And we're going to keep it that way because we've made it very good for them, and we're going to protect them once a year. We'll protect them through taxes, through incentives, and also through tariffs. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bauer tools give you the confidence to take on challenging home projects. With hundreds of corded and cordless tools and accessories, Bauer enables you to complete tough vehicle maintenance and repairs, manage difficult landscaping projects, tackle demanding home renovations, and even turn your garage into a workshop. For all your current and future projects, Bauer is ready to deliver. Bauer, heavy duty guaranteed.
Hey, Brian Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Do you know that Mint's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back?
Who is this?
I told you it's Ryan Reynolds.
This seems like a scam text.
This isn't a scam text.
If this is another wellness fee thing, I'm out.
Seriously, Mint's offering unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month right now. This isn't some pyramid scheme. There's no catch. It's just a great deal.
That's what someone who runs a pyramid scheme would say.
I don't even know how I got into this group chat.
We have, for your signature, 5 official designations of special envoys. The first is Mr. Steve Witkoff, who's actually in the room to be your Middle East envoy.
Where's Steve? Steve Witkoff, everybody. He's done a great job in the Middle East, really great. But we'll see how it all turns out. It's complex, but I think he's going to do very well.
Next, we have Mauricio Claver Carone to be your special envoy to Latin America, sir.
Good man. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have retired General Keith Kellogg to be your special envoy on Russian-Ukraine issues.
We've made a lot of progress on Russia, Ukraine. We'll see what happens, but a lot of progress has been made. We're going to stop that ridiculous war. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have designation of Rick Grinnell, to be your envoy for special missions.
I sent him to California to turn on the water. We turned it on. It was not easy because we had to go through a lot of environmentalists that are causing a lot of problems. And we have billions of gallons of water. It was on 3 days ago. You probably saw. It should have gotten a lot of press, but it didn't get much. All we're doing is giving Los Angeles and the entire state of California virtually unlimited water, which they could have done 5 years ago, which I told them they should do, but the environmentalists stopped them. And we opened it and we did it regardless of the state. And now the state seems to be very happy. I spoke with Gavin Newsom and he's very happy. I almost called him by the other name, but, my little nickname for him. But I think they're all happy. They have a lot of water in California. Too bad we didn't have it about 2 months ago, right? That was, by the way, that was a big move. We have, I don't know if you saw the pictures that were released of the water pouring down from the Pacific Northwest and Canada and lots of other places. And it's a pretty amazing sight.
Mr. President, Canal had a big Friday trip as well.
He had a very big Friday trip, you're right. We'll talk about that. He's a good man, Rick.
Lastly, sir, we have a designation of Mark Burnett as your special envoy to the United Kingdom.
You know Mark Burnett is? I figure he should be good. He's certainly done a great job. Friend of mine and very talented guy. We have very talented people working for us. I'll hold that one up because Mark gets so much television. We'll hold it up, right? He'll be thrilled to see it. He's going to do a good job.
Thank you, sir. Next, your administration has smashed records for appointing large numbers of highly qualified, capable people at all levels of the federal government. These are 28 sub-cabinet level officials being appointed to a number of different departments and agencies. Some of them are quite important positions like departmental general counsels, but these are people who have been pre-vetted and have received your approval previously.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, this is an executive order. Discharges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you've seen that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir, this is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work, and I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices that's done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together. I think we'll create, Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that, what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it, otherwise we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds, and you know, some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund, and I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund. And these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Yes, sir. I think it's going to create value and be of great strategic importance.
Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas, and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste, more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse could be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running obviously a big company. It has nothing to do, if there's a conflict, that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just unrelated, but we have two of the most talented people in the world, the legendary Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison. So they are two legends in business, publishing, and probably every other. Rupert is Larry pretty much in a class by himself, right? I mean, although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry. Larry's one of the most serious players anywhere in the world, so it's an honor to have you. This has nothing to do with you people, but they're here, and I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sure you didn't recognize them. They're all going crazy to say, what are they doing here?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, on the tariff, is there any chance that Canada or China could also get out of the tariffs after you start to deal with Mexico?
Well, nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much, and we've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000. It could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border, and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, you know, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, you know, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well. banks are not, as an example, allowed. Did you know that? That banks, American banks are not allowed to do business in Canada. Can you believe that? And that's one of many things that we talked about, and I think we'll win most of the subjects. But for some reason, a lot of things have been very unfair with Canada. I noticed that in the first term, you deal with people, and after a while, you begin to realize, like you learn that Larry Ellison is very tough to do business with, okay? He's a very tough guy. I mean, I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with. And we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And, you know, we don't need, and look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3 o'clock again. But we don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk and dairy, etc. A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, you know, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States, so we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars. With that being said, we're going to have another call at 3 o'clock. We had a call this morning. It was a pretty good call, I'd say. So the call with Mexico went very well in the sense that they're very strong now on the border. They're going to put soldiers there. So actually, they're best military soldiers, and they're going to be at the border, 10,000. That's a lot of soldiers, and they want to protect it also. You know, they don't want people running through Mexico, coming through Mexico to come into our country. So they're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about other things over the next 30 days. We're going to have Scott, Howard, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, lead the delegation, and we're going to have a big negotiation with Mexico. I'll be involved too, and President Sheinbaum will be involved to see whether or not we can work something out on the tariffs. China will be speaking to China probably over the next 24 hours. We don't want fentanyl coming into our country. Now, we had another big thing, speaking of China. China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long, and that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man, and some others, the entire leadership group. And we're trying to work a deal on the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal was given foolishly years ago to, it shouldn't have been happened, years ago to Panama by Jimmy Carter and the group. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, like one of the great wonders of the world. It's the biggest job we've ever built, the biggest project we've ever built in this country, dollar-wise and every other way. 38,000 people died, Americans, all men, just about, laborers and construction people that went to Panama. The mosquito got them. Between mosquito and snakes, we lost 38,000 people. It was the most expensive project ever built by the United States. The biggest, most expensive project we ever built 110 years ago. If you bring it up to now, it would have been the equivalent of $2 trillion. The most expensive we ever built, and we gave it away for $1, okay? We gave it away essentially for nothing. And we either want it back, or we're gonna get something very strong, or we're gonna take it back. And China will be dealt with. And we didn't give that to China, we gave it to Panama. We shouldn't have given it to Panama, but Panama, as you know, has violated the agreement, totally violated the agreement. So that's in the process right now, but they did have a very good meeting with the head of Panama.
In addition to tariffs on China, can you say your current thinking about whether China should be forced to pay reparations for fentanyl deaths and the million?
No, I haven't talked about that, but they do have tariffs. Honestly, nobody, the amount of money that was lost and most importantly, the lives lost because of COVID is not something that anybody could ever even imagine. It's probably $60 trillion, and all the countries in the world don't have $60 trillion. The amount of death and the amount of destruction and the amount of money lost is probably $60 trillion. I had it figured by people about 3 months ago. It figured out, nobody knows what the real number is, but it's almost an infinite number, the damage done. But I have not discussed that. What I have discussed is we'll have some good meetings with China. We have meetings planned, and we'll see what happens. But that was just an opening salvo. If we can't make a deal with China, then the tariffs will be very, very substantial. Okay, I'm going to sign this one.
Sir, this is, you've obviously made making America healthy again a key priority of this administration. A key component of that is obviously heart health. This is a ceremonial proclamation declaring the month of February to be National Heart Month.
Okay. I hear we're doing very well with nominations. We'll see, but it looks like we're doing very well with nominations.
Have you been involved with calling senators who had some concerns about Tulsi Gabbard?
Yes. Yeah, I've gotten great response. And they want to do what's right, and we've had a good response. I think we'll do well. We have great people like this. We have great people coming in. I'd like to say the best ever recruited for government. I think we have the finest people ever recruited for government.
Will we take an active Congress?
And you know what? You're starting to see that because we've done more in 2 weeks than Biden's done in 4, 5 years, 6 years. If they could be here between him and Obama, you add it up, okay? We've done more in 2 weeks than they've done in 12 years.
Will it take an act of Congress to do away with USAID, or do you believe you have?
I don't know. I don't think so. If not when it comes to fraud. If there's fraud, these people are lunatics. And if it comes to fraud, you wouldn't have an active Congress, and I'm not sure that you would anyway. But we just want to do the right thing. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. Went crazy during the Biden administration. They went totally crazy what they were doing, and the money they were giving to people that shouldn't be getting it, and to agencies and others that shouldn't be getting it, was a shame. So they're tremendous fraud. But we'll be doing a report. We'll be giving you that report at the appropriate time.
Yeah, on the first term, though, USAID was something that you liked in some respects.
I love the concept of it. Yeah, sure. I love the concept, but they turn out to be radical left lunatics. And the concept of it is good, but it's all about the people.
Mr. President, you said you also want to impose tariffs on the EU. What kind of tariffs are you thinking about?
Well, we have massive deficits with the European Union, massive, like $350 billion, if you can believe it. They don't take our farm product. They don't take our cars. They don't take almost anything, but we take their cars. We have millions of cars coming in, BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and just so many different cars, and we don't do anything about that. And we don't charge them tariffs. They make it impossible to sell cars in the European Union. They make it very difficult, agricultural product. They actually don't take it. And they have a lot of excuses. Some of them are the pesticides and the different chemicals used. And Bobby Kennedy actually is looking at that very, very seriously, because maybe it's not necessary to use all of that. You know, we want to be the healthiest country, and we're not. We spend more money on food than anybody else in terms of its creation, but we're not the healthiest country. So maybe there is something to the fact that we shouldn't be using so much chemical, and maybe that'll stop. But Bobby Kennedy is the one, because he is not a believer in all of the things we have done, and neither are the Europeans. So we'll see what happens. But they use it as an excuse not to buy our product. And I asked a couple of the leaders, I don't want to use names, but how many Chevrolets or Fords do you see in the middle of Munich? And the answer is none, because they don't take any cars. They don't take anything. So the European has abused the United States for years, and they can't do that. And they want to make a deal. Let me tell you, in all cases, they all want to make deals. There's nobody that doesn't want to make deals. They've been abusers, and they want to make deals. So we'll see about that. But we'll have, I think, some very fair, all we want is a fair deal. And you know, there's a word reciprocal. I'd go right now, reciprocal tariffs on everybody. Because many of the countries that you feel so horrible about the way they're being treated by Trump, you're saying, oh, President Trump is so terrible to them. Well, they charge us tariffs. European Union is a VAT tax, which is through the roof, okay? It's a similar thing, similar to a tariff. It's a VAT. And they have it, and it's numbers like you wouldn't believe. And Canada, I told you about the banks, and I told you they charge us. And people don't say that. They don't like to say it. Just like they don't like to say that I opened up the water for California. It's a great thing. It's too bad they didn't do it themselves. I had to do it, and it was not easy. We did it a very rough way. And I didn't like to do it a rough way. We shouldn't have to do it a rough way. But a lot of these countries that we're talking about, you know, they're so-called allies, but they don't treat us well. And just like I got $420 billion, and now it's actually over $600 billion, the Secretary General of NATO came in 2 weeks ago, and he said, it was a miracle when Trump came in, when President Trump came into NATO, he said it was $636 billion by saying to them, no, you have to pay. And if you don't pay, we're not going to be there for you. You know, somebody has to say it, and they paid. And it was a large amount of money. And one of the problems we have with the Russia-Ukraine situation is that we want to see some equalization, because we're in for close to $300 billion, and they're in for $200 billion less. Why are they in for less? Because Biden never asked them for money. He never said, you got to pay. He never did. All he did is hand out money. So we're talking with them right now, and we're actually working some deals right now. So we have some guarantees and some other things to keep that whole situation to go, really going. I mean, going. We're telling Ukraine they have very valuable rare earth. We want what we put up to go in terms of a guarantee. We want a guarantee. We're handing them money hand over fist. We're giving them equipment. European is not keeping up with us. They should equalize. And look, we have an ocean in between. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money. And they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us. But let's say equal to us. And they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
In terms of the deal with Mexico this morning, was that partially related to the market reaction and a criticism from Mr. Murdoch's on the newspaper? He called it the dumbest trade war on the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him. I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times, I will tell you. I don't agree with him on some things. No, it's not only is it not dumb, you're going to see. Every single one of those countries is dying to make a deal. You know why? Because they're ripping us off really badly. And the United States is tired of being just being ripped off. And that's why we have $36 trillion in debt. We have it for a reason, because we make bad deals with everybody. And we don't allow that anymore. So the Wall Street Journal is wrong, because very simply, every single country that you're writing about right now is dying to make a deal. Because the deals they have right now are so good, and so good for them, and so profitable for them. You didn't know that Canada didn't allow our banks. You didn't know all of these different things. And I think in the end, you're going to see that either very, very substantial tariffs are going to be paid by them, or they're going to make some kind of a deal.
Did Mexican President
Did what?
Did you blink this morning?
There was no blinking. No, she's a wonderful woman, but she did agree to 10,000 soldiers on the border. I would say that's a lot. Would you say that's pretty good? 10,000 soldiers on the border? And the 10,000 soldiers are going to keep illegal aliens out, and they're going to keep them out, seriously out, and otherwise they're going to have a big penalty. Mexico's going to be penalized. They're not going to come through Mexico anymore, and they're not going to let the fentanyl come in from China. And China hopefully is going to stop sending us fentanyl, and if they're not, the tariffs are going to go substantially higher.
Sir, Ron, just to clarify what you said about Ukraine earlier, the earths, is that something you want them to give the rare earths to the United States?
Yeah. I want to have security of rare earth. We're putting in hundreds of billions of dollars. They have great rare earth, and I want security of the rare earth. And they're willing to do it.
Sir, you mentioned there that you
On
want.
Canada, when you talk to Justin Trudeau again, is there anything he can give you at 3 p.m. when you talk again to also?
I don't know.
Pause,
I don't know.
like you said with
I don't
Mexico?
know. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals are so bad? But with Canada, I have a talk with him, and you maybe know, maybe not. We're gonna meet again or talk again at 3 o'clock, right after my next meeting, and we'll see what happens. I can't tell you what's gonna happen.
You mentioned that he could agree to change their mind on the tariff.
Well, we can always, but look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our, Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They can do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're gonna meet again by phone at 3 o'clock, and we'll let you know.
On Israel, President Trump, you're prepared to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Coming in tomorrow.
Yes, you mentioned in the past you're concerned about Israel being too small geographically. Would you support annexation of parts of the West Bank by Israel?
Well, I'm not going to talk about that. It certainly is a small, it's a small country in terms of land. See this pen, this wonderful pen? My desk is the Middle East. And this pen, the top of the pen, that's Israel. That's not good, right? You know, it's a pretty big difference. I use that as an analogy. It's pretty accurate, actually. It's a pretty small piece of land. And it's amazing that they've been able to do what they've been able to do when you think about it. There's a lot of good, smart brain power, but it is a very small piece of land, no question about it.
Mr. President, you said earlier that Elon Musk is doing everything with their say so. So is there everything that he has done thus far, going to all the agencies, shutting off access, getting access to federal payments, at all times, you're okay with all that?
For the most part, yeah. If we, if there was something that didn't have my okay, I'd let you know about it really fast.
And you said there's some areas where you wouldn't let him work because he has conflicts of interest.
If there was a no, I haven't seen that. And he would know not to do it. So we haven't had that yet. But if there was a conflict, we would let him work in that
The
area.
very reason I'm regarding Panama that they were to make a deal where the U.S. is going to take it. How long do they have to make that sort of deal, and are you still leaving on the table?
We're going to meet with Panama on Friday at about 3:30 in the afternoon by phone, and maybe there'll be some representatives that, here or there. But we're going to be talking to Panama on Friday, essentially. And they've agreed to certain things, but I'm not happy with it.
On the Middle East, Mr. President, if I may, do you still have doubts that the ceasefire will hold?
On what?
On the Middle East, do you think the ceasefire will hold?
I have no assurances that it'll hold. I mean, I've seen people brutalized. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. No, I have no guarantees that the peace is going to hold. Steve, you might want to say something about that. Steve Woodcock?
It's holding so far. So, and we're certainly hopeful. And that's the president's direction. Get the hostages out and save lives and come to hopefully a peaceful settlement of it all. So far it's holding.
Mr. President, on a different topic, questionnaires have been going out to FBI agents across the country who were involved potentially in the investigation. Do you believe anyone involved at any level should be fired, sir?
Well, I think the FBI was a very corrupt institution, and I'm a victim of it in a true sense. I was able to beat it, but other people have been treated horribly. I think the FBI had a great reputation. I think its reputation was really damaged badly, as is DOJ. And look at what they've done in terms of weaponization. Look at what they've done to a political opponent. Probably got me elected by what they did, or I think I was doing well anyway, but they might have got me elected. But you know what? We have to have pristine, beautiful, perfect law enforcement. And what we want to do, and Cash is the one to do it. He's the one guy that is going to do it. We have to bring the reputation of the FBI. We have to bring the fact of the FBI back to what it could be. Not even to what it was, even better than it ever was. Because who would have thought that the FBI could have been corrupted like they were corrupted? Who would have thought that would have happened? Who would have thought they would have been used to go after, political opponents, essentially, but me being the number one, and so many other things beyond that. And they've been hurt very badly, and we'll see what happens. But Cash is the one to do it, and I hear he's doing very well. Cash will straighten it out. We have great confidence that we can make the FBI great again. Okay, one or two more and we'll be done. Say it?
Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah, I think Chelsea's gonna be doing okay. I'm not sure, I can't guarantee anything, but she's liked by so many people, especially people in the military and law enforcement.
She has a little bit of trouble with some senators over her thoughts on Edward Snowden. I know Snowden, you've mentioned in the past you're thinking about pardoning him. Are you still, and what would you think of that?
No, I don't talk to about it right now. I just, people feel very differently. Some people think he should be pardoned, and some people think it would be a terrible thing to do, but I don't get involved in that.
Mr. President, what are you discussing with Mr. Murdoch?
Just respect. I have great respect for Rupert Murdoch. I disagree with him a lot of times with the Wall Street Journal, but it's all right. We've disagreed before, and I'm sure they didn't have any idea what they were talking about, because already you see what's happening. Look at Colombia. Look at what happened with that. Everybody said that with Colombia it was going to be a disaster. In one hour, everything was settled. You know why? Tariffs. Without tariffs, they wouldn't have been the same way. They would not have treated me the way they treated me, which was extremely nicely. And I don't want to use countries, I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want. Tariffs for us, nobody can compete with us because we're the pot of gold. But if we don't keep winning and keep doing well, we won't be the pot of gold, and then tariffs won't be so good for us. But when you're the pot of gold, the tariffs are very good. They're very powerful, and they're going to make our country very rich again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Ryan.
Districts in the world.
But are you looking to do that with an executive order, sir, or do you need to work with Congress?
Well, there are some people that say I could. I think I'd work with Congress. I think we'd have to work with the teachers union, because the teachers union is the only one that's opposed to it. Nobody else would want to hold them back. Look, we have to tell the teachers union, we're rated last in the world in education of the top 40. We're rated, we were 38, now we're 40. We went to 39, we went to 40, we were 37. But we're at 40 now. The thing just came out. That's under Biden, remember that.
Secretary Rubio announced a deal this week that would allow potentially American citizens for criminals to be put in a different country. Is that something you're looking to do?
No, I didn't know that he announced that yet, but he did, it's fine, yeah. We have hardened criminals, horrible people. You see them pushing people into subways. The train is coming last week. Guy walking around, just sees somebody waiting for the train. Train's coming 40 miles an hour, and he gets pushed into the subway. And that happens all the time. These are sick people. If we could get them out of our country, we have other countries that would take them. It's no different than a prison system, except it would be a lot less expensive, and it would be a great deterrent. Send them to other countries. If we could go a step further, in other words, We're talking about getting the criminals out of our country that come in through other countries illegally, right? The illegal migrants, as I call them. Well, we have people that are just as bad as them in our country. If we can get
Absolutely
them out,
right.
I'd be very happy.
Salvador said that he wanted you to pay a fee for that. Would you pay that?
Well, it's a very small fee compared to what.
Guys, I'm sorry to stop the video, but I worked as a correctional captain in the state of Florida for a prison system. And let me tell you something. When prisoners go to prison, they don't go there and get reformed. They go there and get worse. The type of freedom they have, it's unbelievable. I'm talking, I've had inmates walk up to me and say, bro, I make more money than you. You're broke. And I believe them. Because we confiscate, like, when we confiscate a lot of, like when we do our searches and we find things, we find inmates with crisp $100 bills like they just came out of the bank. I don't know how they get them because these guys are very smart. They have a system that they've been using for years. And believe me, I'm from Jamaica, and it's the same thing. You see inmates, taking pictures of themselves in prison with Cavassier, with all kind of liquor, dressed up in Nikes. I'm like, how is this a prison? How is this a prison system where inmates go into prison and they look like they're living a better life than when they were outside? Someone who commit heinous crimes should never be in prison enjoying shit. I pardon my French, man, but I've seen it happen so long where inmates go into prison and they come out making more money than you. And you know that there's drugs. And a lot of times, even the officers that you work with, because I've worked with officers that were under investigation, and I didn't find that out till years after, because a lot of corrupted officers are there. You know what I mean? And they sell information to inmates when we go to our meetings and we're wondering why we can't find anything. We can't find the phones. We can't find the drugs. Those same officers are the ones selling the information to the inmates. And an inmate paying an officer, $500, an extra $1,000 a month, or extra $1,000 a week, they save thousands a week. Because the drug industry in prison is a huge market. Because I know for a fact, while I was in the prison system, we were allowed, I don't smoke, but the officers and the captains and whoever were allowed to take in cigarettes. And I didn't even notice till later on in my career that a lot of the officers were using those cigarettes and making a crap ton of money. So what they would do is they would come in and sell one cigarette. I mean, not a pack of cigarette, one single cigarette for like $50 to $100, and they would sell them. Sometimes I would see officers just, they'd go outside and they'd light up a cigarette. And I'm like, why would you just, like, you took 2 puffs of that and dropped it? Never knew that they had a system where they would smoke, take 2 puffs, drop the cigarette, and then they will go back inside, sell it to the inmate, and then tell the inmate where to go find it. You know what I mean? I never quite understood that. And there was officers there making a lot of money. I remember I used to see officers coming in, nails done, and I'm like, I can't afford that on my salary. How is it that you're coming every week, your nails is done, they're leaving the facility, going out, buying lunch every night or every day when I work. And I'm like, how are you guys affording this? And then once I was actually about to leave the prison system, I have a lot of friends that were on outside, and they're like, my bro, listen, I know that you're leaving now, but let me tell you this. This officer, this officer, this officer, this captain, this officer is under investigation. We're just gathering our case together. So the prison system in the United States is screwed. Yes, in some systems here in the United States, prisons are prison and they don't get away with stuff. But even if you watch 60 Days In on History Channel, whatever the case might be, you see how much drugs and freedom, weapons, knives, and we see this every day. And yet still these guys are trying to hire, ex-officers to go in undercover. What are you talking about? Take every inmate out, empty out their cell, check every crevice and wall, and they should have nothing but their bare minimum, their uniform, maybe a book or two, no television, nothing like that. Go to prison, serve hard time for crimes committed. And I promise you, that would be a deterrent. Every week, you search them. But our prison system, even up at the top, and I can speak for for a fact, even up at the top of the prison system, there's the people on the top, the captains and the wardens. They're making money. They're making money being quiet, and that's why a lot of them don't say anything. That's why the prison system is so broken. So I do agree with President Trump. Take a lot of these hardcore criminals, even medium core criminals, send their ass out of the country, send them to somewhere like El Salvador, you know what I mean, or Venezuela, where you see those prisons, where those men are shaved every day. They can't grow their hair no length of time. They're bound together. They have no time whatsoever to do anything. Send them down there, let them serve hard time. So when they do come back from their sentences, they're really deterred from committing a crime. But here, the prison system is a joke, and I know that personally. So nobody in the comment can tell me anything, because I've lived it, I've seen it, I've fought with criminals, I've dust out criminals, I've got my ass whooped by criminals, I've whooped criminals' asses, I've rehabilitated some of them just cannot be rehabilitated, and I'm telling you, the prison system is broke. They have more weapons every single day. You can think that you taking away a crap load of weapons, and before you know it, more weapons are there. You think you take away drugs, somehow weapons are coming in. Listen, I've had inmates one day, we got a hint, and we went down to the kitchen, and we're checking, inmates getting food. You know how they were getting the stuff into the prison? And when I tell the story, I'm gonna let it go. They were actually, when they were bringing in the food, they will take the bread, they would leave the three backside slices and the 3 front slice, and dig a hole in the rest of the bread and stuff whatever they're stuffing in the bread, and then they will transport the bread in, and then it will go to the kitchen. The inmates already have the phones on the inside, and they will tell them, the guy on the kitchen will bring the bread, to the dining hall, and before you know it, drugs and contraband and all that stuff kept going over. They were using drones to drop off stuff, and officers can't always watch everything. You know what I mean? Because when the inmates are on the field, people drive past the prison all the time. Drones are dropping off things. I mean, this prison system is broken, man. What El Salvador is doing is what the United States should start doing. Order prisons to re-infrastructure, change up the way how they do the prisons, have random checks so you can go in and have a search team randomly search, and for every contraband you find, you find any inmates, you find the prison. And I bet you the prison will do better to make sure that there's no contraband. Prisoners are not stepping out of line. They're not. I'm talking about no freedom. And there's people out there that's going to talk about, oh, human rights. I don't give a rat's ass about no human rights. You know what I mean? Once you go to prison, you give up the little bit of human rights that you have. You say, hey, I committed a crime. I'm going to prison. This is my sentence. And it should be time served. Not going there, coming out, oh, I was just on a vacation. There's guys who do crimes out here that are like, yo, I don't care. I go back to prison. Those are some of the best days of my life. No, you should, when you think about prison, you should be like, hey, I'd rather die than go back to that place. Kill me. Yeah, we'll happily kill you so we don't have to waste our taxpayers' money on you to put you back in prison. Because I'm telling you, fam, there's some people in prison. You don't want those people to be outside. And these are people that I've dealt with for years. And you guys are lucky that there's a prison system that maintain these people. Because if they were to be out and about in your community, trust me, I mean, you would really feel it. With that said, carry on.
We pay 2 private prisons. And a very, very small fee. I don't know, we'll have to find that out legally.
Even if we have to pay per prisoner to go to Venezuela, it's chump change. The dollar means is so much stronger and cheaper to have prisons in other countries. It's ridiculous.
If you take the shooters, the people that hit old ladies in the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking,
absolutely,
down the street,
absolutely,
the people that you see it, the people that take out a gun and shoot you for no reason at all. If we can get these animals out of our country and put them in a different country under the supervision of somebody that made a relatively small fee to maintain these people, because you know what? These are criminals, you call them hardened criminals. They've been in jail 40 times. There's one 42 times, and every time the person gets out, it's a he. Every time he gets out, he commits another crime within 24 hours, and it's a heinous crime, it's a rough crime. We don't want these people in our country either. We don't want them in our country. If we had the option to get them out and let them be based in some other country at a fraction of the cost, and frankly, they could keep them because these people are never gonna be any good. That person that has been arrested 42 times or 22 times or 17 times and is all in for manslaughter and everything else and only gets out because of a very weak judicial system that only goes after people like Trump. They don't go after the criminals. They don't go after people like this. And they laugh at our law. If that took place, you would have a lot less crime automatically.
Absolutely. 1,000%. I agree with the president. Absolutely agree with the president.
There's a lot of space to accommodate a lot of people, yeah, so we're gonna use it. We have it, it's already up, we have it for nothing. But we can do less expensive and even more secure. We've had other countries come to us saying, we would love to do that, we would love to take your criminals and we'll maintain that, we'll be their jail.
Absolutely. It should be something the president look into. From a former correctional officer, a captain, sergeant, absolutely.
That man that did that is a real bad guy. Many arrests. And do you think you're going to convince him someday to be good and a wonderful citizen for our country? It's never going to happen.
Nope.
I want to get those people out. I'd love to get them out along with the illegal migrants. The migrants are rough, but we have some bad ones too. I'd like to get them out. It would be all subject to the laws of our land, and we're looking at that to see what we can do.
I hope the president does.
What other countries have offered to take these Americans?
Numerous, many. And Marco brought it up today. I'm glad he did. Because a lot of people are thinking it. When I watch some of the crimes being committed in New York City and Chicago, look at Chicago, the volume of crime that they have, and the viciousness of the crime. These people are horrible people. And if somebody thinks they're going to be wonderful citizens someday, they're wrong. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're bad. These are hard, tough criminals. In many cases, they're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. But they're very dangerous. If I could get them out of the country and be in some other country where they're glad to have them because they make a small fee compared to what we'd pay to a private prison.
Absolutely.
Put them in one of our prisons.
Absolutely. I worked at a private prison. They don't pay well. They make a lot of money from the government, and the prisoners do whatever they want to do. You can't even reprimand the prisoners. They report you, and they threaten you with firing you. The president is right.
You gotta be kidding. He signed up with a talent agency?
He's got some entertainment agents now.
I think he's got bigger problems than that. I really do. I think he's got much bigger problems than that, but I wish him well.
He's a clown. That's what he is.
It's a mess, but it's quickly being solved, the problem. We're gonna make America great again. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, thank you. Thanks, guys.
He's a freaking clown.
Our warehouse is overloaded with survival food kits, but our mess is your gain. You win. Because right now you can score an
talent
Terrific
agency.
people in today are trying to solve some of the problems that are going on in the country and outside of the country. We're doing very well with respect to other countries really behaving on taking the... I just want to take our hats off to those incredible flyers, the people that flew that big machine, and frankly, the mechanics and everybody else. They had zero. They flew for 37 hours with zero problem mechanically. I mean, when you think in carrying the biggest bombs ever, the biggest bombs that we've ever dropped on anybody, what do you think? Non-nuclear, and we want to keep it non-nuclear, by the way. But they did a phenomenal job. It was an amazing job, and I think that was, I was talking to Bibi about it before, that was the very beginning of the end. It ended very quickly after that. I don't want to say what it reminded me of, but if you go back a long time ago, it reminded people of a certain other event, and is Harry Truman's picture is now in the lobby, in a nice location in the lobby where it should have been, but that stopped a lot of fighting. And this stopped a lot of fighting. When that happened, it was a whole different ballgame.
On future Iran strikes, what might make you have a desire to do another strike on Iran?
Another what?
Another strike on
I hope we're not gonna have to do that. I can't imagine wanting to do that. I can't imagine them wanting to do it. They wanna meet. They wanna work something out. You know, they're very different now than they were 2 weeks ago.
Is there a date yet for the Holocaust or a city? Do you know when and where the next round of the Holocaust will be?
Well, I can tell you, I'd rather not say, but you'll be reading about it tomorrow or seeing it tomorrow.
Mr. President, what is the holdup currently in a ceasefire with Hamas?
In which?
In a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, what's currently the holdup?
I don't think there is a holdup. I don't think there's a holdup. I think things are going along very well. They just, left each other, and it was not a pleasant period of a few days. It was a little longer than a few days, but this was not a pleasant period of time. And, we were, at the end, missiles were shot, and every single missile was shot out of the air. It was pretty amazing. That was sort of the end. And they told us they were coming, and where they were, and what time they were coming. And they said, if you'd like to have a different time, we'll do that. And that's respect when they do that. I appreciated that they did that. There was no surprise. We got the soldiers out of the base in Qatar, in this case. But they knew they were coming. 14 missiles were coming. 1 o'clock, they said, would you like to make it later? They said, no, let them come at 1 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, everybody was, as you know, over 5,000 people left the base. And we had 3 gunners and 3 assistants. And out of the 14 that were shot, all 14 were knocked out. And that was the end. That was about it. And we had a rough time. But sometimes, sometimes you need the rough time in order to get. I think things are going to be really settled down a lot in the Middle East. And they respect us, and they respect Israel. They respect a lot of things that took place. Nobody's ever seen equipment like what we sent over to knock out those sites. But when those sites were knocked out, that was the end.
Do you think that there can be a two-state solution that creates an independent?
I don't know. I'd ask Mimi that question. You have the greatest man in the world to answer that age-old question, two-state. Go ahead, give him your honest answer.
I think Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves, but none of the powers to threaten us. That means that certain powers, like overall security, will always remain in our hands. Now, that is a fact, and no one in Israel will agree to anything else because we don't commit suicide. We want life, we cherish life for ourselves, for our neighbors, and I think we can work out a peace between us and the entire Middle East with President Trump's leadership, and by working together, I think we can establish a very, very broad peace that will include all our neighbors.
President, you asserted that there's complete and total destruction of the facilities. So what is the basis of the talks going forward? Is it to cap future nuclear activity? Is it ballistic missiles, terror support, economic-based opportunities? What are
It's really a good question because if you remember when it was done, I sort of said, what's the purpose of talking? It's been knocked out completely. But they've requested a meeting, and I'm going to go to a meeting, and if we can put something down on paper, that'll be fine, that'll be good. I think they gained a lot of respect for us. I think they gained a lot of respect for Israel also. But they would like to meet, and we're going to have a meeting. Steve, when is that meeting going to be? Do you want to say?
Very quickly, in the next week or so.
So we'll see what happens. I think it would be nice to memorialize it, put it down, but because of the incredible result of that attack, if you want to call it an attack, I didn't think it was necessary to have it in writing. I think we spoke. I mean, that speaks much louder than writing. But I can also understand why they want it, and they've been very nice. They've been very respectful, and it began by them telling us about 14. They had to do, you know what 14 represents, right? Do you know what 14 represents? Right? You know that, right? The number of bombs dropped. So it was, representative. We got them all. Yeah, please, behind you, please. No, you.
So this is President Prime Minister. The London Dennis Mayor of New York City for Democratic Social Local Liberty of Israel and of Jerusalem has said he would arrest you if you came to New York City
No, I'm not concerned about that. Look, there's enough craziness in the world, but I guess it never ends. I mean, you have, this is faulty, and it's silly in many ways, because it's just not serious. But what is serious is the question I was asked before. You know, after October 7th, people said, the Palestinians have a state. Hamas state in Gaza, look what they did with it. They didn't build it up, they built down into bunkers, into terror tunnels, after which they massacred our people, raped our women, beheaded our men, invaded our cities and our towns, and our people see, and did horrendous massacres, the kind of which we didn't see since World War II and the Nazis, the Holocaust. So people aren't likely to say, let's just give them another state and be a platform to destroy Israel. We work out a peace with our Palestinian neighbors, those who don't want to destroy us, and we'll work out a peace in which our security, the sovereign power of security, always remains in our hands. Now people will say it's not a complete state, it's not a state, it's not that. We don't care. You know, we vow never again. Never again is not. It's not going to happen again.
So we'll see you here next year?
Oh, look, I'm going to come there with President Trump, and we'll see how do you know who the mayor will be? I don't know that. Do we know that?
He's gonna be very fine, and who knows, we don't know who the mayor's gonna be yet. But this is a communist, he's not a socialist, he's a communist, and he said some really bad things about Jewish people, and he said some really bad things about a lot of people. And I think he's going through a little bit of a honeymoon right now, but he might make it. But you know, it all comes through the White House. He needs the money through the White House. He needs a lot. He's going to behave. He'll behave. He better behave, otherwise he's going to have big problems. But it's a philosophy that this country is not ready for, and it never will be. And by the way, we have a man with us who thought this was going to be a very glamorous, easy job. He's the ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, former governor, former everything. I'd say he's a former everything, and respected and loved by everybody. And he loves Israel. He loves the state of Israel, and nobody loves it much more. And he's not Jewish, and he loves Israel. And he wanted to be there. I said, you know, Mike, it could be dangerous. No. Well, at least I was right about that. He was in every bunker you could be in. He was running around from bunker to bunker. He's still with us, fortunately, and he's done a great job. Would you say a few words, Mike?
Just want to say what an honor it is to serve you, Mr. President, and to see a historic horizon that we are looking at in the Middle East. And when the President made his trip to the Middle East, and then he really reached out to the new Syrian government, knowing they needed a partner, and knowing that they could pick the wrong partner. And what the President did, which took us all off guard, but the strategic move in that has set up something that is absolutely historic. Mr. President, I don't even think you fully comprehend the impact that you're having on the region in a way that is so remarkable. And it was your leadership, your foresight, you did that. When the B-2s went in, the celebration, the sense of partnership that you gave with the Israeli people was so dramatic. But the message was bigger than to Israel. It was a message to the world. America's friends can trust us, but America's foes had better fear us. And that is a message that the President sent to everyone on the planet. And it is a message that will resonate toward a matter of peace, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen. So, thank you.
Great job you're doing.
Thank you.
They love you all of them. They respect him and they love him. You know, it's very, very interesting. We had the pilots here yesterday, as you know, and they were incredible. And we also had the mechanics. We had a lot of people here that had to do, a lot of people, I think about 170 people that had to do with that incredible journey. A journey that could have been horrible. You remember what happened with Jimmy Carter with the helicopters and all of the problems, and ultimately hostages. We had the exact opposite. Everything was perfect, it worked perfectly. But I didn't realize, I was saying to one, is this something that you felt strongly about? Absolutely, sir, I couldn't wait. They said, better than you, really better you than me. But they couldn't wait. He said, sir, we've been practicing for this mission for more than 20 years.
from just after 2000, they've been thinking and practicing to go into that area. I guess you probably know that better than anybody, Pete. They've been looking at going in, but they never had a president that would allow them to do it. And perhaps right, I don't know if that's true or not, but I didn't realize they were preparing for that journey from just a little bit after 2000, the year 2000. And I was pretty amazed by that. They knew it, they knew every inch of it. And they came back and they said, we got it better than we ever did in practice. But they've been practicing for more than 20 years. Can you imagine? Yeah.
On Ukraine, Mr. President, are you planning to send more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Your defensive weapons, primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. So many people are dying in that mess.
Mr. President, you put one big beautiful bill, now sign it into law, would you like to pledge for a lot of things to turn into plastic?
All they have to do now is talk about how good it is. The biggest tax cuts ever. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, think of it, no tax on overtime. From a business standpoint, the jobs are coming in like we've never seen them before. As soon as that was signed, there were 9 factories that announced that they were building the 1-year deductibility, things that from a business standpoint you'd understand. The jobs that are being created, and one of the things that is, and this is also that, but it's also because of the tariffs and tremendous success. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. One of the things that is so exciting is the number of companies and car companies where they're building plants. AI is the big thing. We have over $15 trillion announced already, and it's been, really, I would say it's been during the last 3 months. But we're here for a short period of time, and some administrations never had anywhere near that number for a whole term, probably for a whole 2 terms. But we're up to over $15 trillion coming into our country. There's never been anything like it anywhere in the world. There's never been an investment like that anywhere in the world. Look, I told this story, and I just told it to Bibi. Backstage, I was talking to him, and I said, the King of Saudi Arabia, smart guy, and also we went to Qatar, and we went to UAE. Really 3 strong leaders, smart guys. They all told me the same thing, and then that was reiterated at NATO just recently when we got back, where they agreed to spend $1 trillion a year, by the way, which is about 3 times what they were spending. But they all said the same thing. We thought your country was dead. Horrible term, right? We thought the United States of America was dead, and now you're presiding over the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country in the world. I think Bibi would admit it, even hotter than Israel, though Israel was pretty hot about a week ago, I can tell you, for the wrong reasons. We are the hottest country in the world right now, and
This guy's a clown.
it happened faster than anybody thought possible. But we have over $15 trillion, and that means jobs, and that means building, and that means things like we've never seen before. So all we can do is keep working hard. There'll be always surprises. Some of the surprises are going to be bad surprises.
Mr. President, again, real quick, in your view, is the war between Israel and Iran over, or do those talks need to happen before you can?
Well, I would say that the best man to answer that is the Prime Minister. But I will tell you that in my view, I hope it's over. Yeah, I think Iran wants to meet. I think they want to make peace, and I'm all for it. Now, if that's not the case, we are ready, willing, and able. But I don't think we're going to have to be. But I think Bibi would answer that question very well.
I think the partnership between Israel and the United States, the partnership between President Trump and me, produced a historic victory. It's an incredible victory, actually. It brought the greatest capabilities of the United States that are unmatched with the great capabilities of Israel and the army of Israel, pilots of Israel, soldiers of Israel, and Mossad. And the combination of these 2 extraordinary capacities produced a decisive result. It set back the 2 tumors that were threatening the life of Israel. The nuclear tumor and the ballistic missile tumor. Because they were planning to build 20,000 of these things and launch it in a country the size of New Jersey. No country could withstand that. So what do you do when you have two things that are going to kill you? You have to remove them. With our combined effort, we did it. But when you remove the tumor, doesn't mean that it can't come back. You have to constantly monitor the situation to make sure that there's no attempt to bring it back. So we've had a great achievement, and I think part of the effort of consolidating this and ensuring that we don't have to repeat this is to monitor this carefully. Of course, the President and I are talking about it, our teams are talking about it, but there's no question this is a historic victory, and I think as was said here today, this has already changed the face of the Middle East.
But it's not over yet.
But I think that there's an opportunity here to create a historic expansion of the Abraham Accords, which were themselves an act of history, that deserve a Nobel Prize for the President. But I think the opportunities are much bigger, and I hope, I'd like to believe that Iran will not test our fortitude, because it would be a mistake.
And do you believe that regime change is still necessary there?
Well, I think it's up to the people of Iran.
Mr. Prime Minister, speaking on Syria, the Trump administration has fully supported changes in Syria and the new regime there. Obviously, they're going to be more cautious from a security standpoint. Are you comfortable with the pace of change of the security situation vis-a-vis Syria right now?
I think there's an opportunity to explore. I think that everyone understands that the situation has changed. Before that, Iran was essentially running Syria, okay? Directly through Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been brought to its knees. Iran is out of the picture. So I think this presents opportunities for stability, for security, and eventually for peace. And I think that's been opened up also by the fact that the President has opened up the channel. So they have something, there's a lot to lose by going back to comfort. There's a lot to gain by moving towards peace. And I think that opportunity has been opened by the President and by the changed security situation which we brought about in the collapse of the Assad regime. Now, let's suppose there were. Would I answer yes? No. Right?
That's my duty to ask.
Right? It's your duty to ask and my duty to ask you back. So,
You know, at the request of a lot of countries in the surrounding area of the Middle East, including Bibi, we took the sanctions off Syria, and I met the new leader. I was very impressed by him. Somebody said, well, he comes from a very tough background. I said, well, you know, I'm not that surprised. It's a tough part of the world. But I was very impressed by him. But we took the sanctions off because we want to give them a chance. They would never have had a chance without the sanctions. And one of the things we have with Iran is, you know, we have they call biting, they are very biting sanctions. And I would love to be able to, at the right time, take those sanctions off, give them a chance at rebuilding, because I'd like to see Iran build itself back up in a peaceful manner and not going around saying death to America, death to the USA, death to Israel, as they were doing. You know, they were the bully of the Middle East, and now they're not the bully anymore. But they were saying terrible things, and would like to see them. They have such potential. You know, they have the oil power, and they have great people, smart people, energetic people, amazing. And I know so many Iranians from New York. I have a lot of friends, and they're great people. So it's a shame when you see a thing like this happen. But I think that taking the sanctions off of Syria is going to give Syria a great shot at making it.
Congressional question. Are there any executive orders that you'd like to see Congress focus on when we come back in session? Do you ever think that you can prioritize those?
Well, we've done a lot of them in the last, as you know, and I always say the great, big, beautiful bill. I had the word great. But it was the largest bill of its kind ever passed. We were talking about it before. It was beauty. But you know, a lot of the things that we did, executive orders, have been codified in the legislation that we just had passed. And we're gonna be sending in a lot more over the next period of about 2 months separately. But a lot of it was part of that beautiful big bill.
President, on tariffs, what happened to 90 trade deals in 90 days?
Oh, we've spoken to everybody. We know it's all done. I told you, we'll make some deals, but for the most part, we're gonna send a letter, we're gonna say, welcome to the United States. If you'd like to participate in the greatest, most successful country ever. I mean, we're doing better than ever. I don't think, you're gonna see these numbers soon. We've never had numbers like this. We've never had investment like this. We have more than 90, we're gonna have much more than 90, but most of those are gonna be sent a letter. This is exactly what I said. Now, we've made a deal with United Kingdom, we've made a deal with China, we've made a deal, we're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're gonna be able to make a deal, so we just send them a letter. If you wanna play ball, this is what you have to pay. So, as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit, depending if they have we're not gonna be unfair about it. And actually, it's a small fraction compared to what we should be getting. We could be asking for much more, but for the sake of relationships that we've had with a lot of really good countries, we're doing the way I do it. But we could be getting a lot more, we could ask for a lot more than what we're asking for.
You're done, because you're sending your letters to Paul and earlier. You're telling these as deals by saying, here's the tariff rate.
I'm saying, here it is, congratulations, welcome to the United States. I hope you make a lot of money and you're gonna pay us money. They were ripping us, they were charging us tariffs at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We have some countries who are charging 200% tariffs and making it impossible to do business. And what the tariffs are doing is they're driving people in and companies into the United States. That's why we're building all of the work that you see happening in this country right now, and it's at a record level. All the factories, all of the AI institutions that are being built, it's largely because, I think it's because of November 5th, the good election, and I think it's because of the tariffs. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
What's for dinner?
I don't know, but it looks good to me.
You need parts? We got parts. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart.
Right now, get one free set of BrakeBest brake pads when you purchase 2 BrakeBest Select rotors. You can upgrade to BrakeBest Select brake pads for $10 more, or upgrade to BrakeBest Select Pro, or import the brake pads for just $20 more. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
Oh my God.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. Let's head out live over the White House press briefing room.
Yeah, good. It's good to see you back here. We have another busy week. On a scheduling note, tomorrow, President Trump will travel to the great state of Florida to attend the opening of a new illegal alien detention center located at Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport alongside Secretary Kristi Noem, Governor Ron DeSantis, Congressman Byron Donalds, and other state and local leaders. We hope to see many of you there. The facility is in the heart of the Everglades and will be informally known as Alligator Alcatraz. There is only one road leading in, and the only way out is a one-way flight. It is isolated and surrounded by dangerous wildlife and unforgiving terrain. The facility will have up to 5,000 beds to house, process, and deport criminal illegal aliens. This is an efficient and low-cost way to help carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. We are truly coming off a historic week of President Trump racking up win after win on behalf of the American people. President Trump restored peace through strength and acted decisively as commander-in-chief to obliterate the immediate threat of the Iranian regime's nuclear capabilities, and then brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, which continues to hold. Then, the president traveled to the Netherlands and achieved a monumental win for the United States and the NATO alliance by getting our allies to dedicate 5% of their GDPs to military spending. As a result of President Trump unleashing American energy dominance, summer gas prices are at the lowest they have been in 4 years, heading into the July 4th week. And with the incoming Trump economic boom, the stock market continues to roar back, with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both hitting record highs. And on this point of an economic boom, I bring to you original correspondence from the President of the United States to our Fed Chair, Jerome Powell. As the President has consistently stated, the American economy is booming. And there were so many economic analysts who said that this president's policies would drive our economy down, when in fact we have seen the opposite. We've seen a massive deregulation campaign take place. We've seen inflation completely diminished from where it was under the reckless spending and the bad policies of the previous incompetent administration. I would remind the Fed Chair, and I would remind the entire world, that this is a president who was a businessman first, and he knows what he is doing. He has a proven economic formula that worked in his first term as president, and it is working again. The one problem that remains is high interest rates for the American people. The American people want to borrow money cheaply, and they should be able to do that. But unfortunately, we have interest rates that are still too high. So the president sent this note to the Fed Chair today. And if you look at this chart, this is a chart of all of the interest rates of many countries throughout the world. At the top is Switzerland. They're only paying 1/4 for interest rates. Cambodia, Japan, Denmark, Thailand, Botswana, Barbados, Taiwan, Bulgaria, Cuba, Sweden, Morocco, Cabo Verde, South Korea, Algeria, Canada, Albania, Libya, Malaysia, China, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, Czechia, Bolivia, Australia, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, Kuwait, Papua New Guinea, Bosnia, United Kingdom, and the UAE are all paying lower interest rates than the United States of America, which has one of the hottest and strongest economies in the world. The president sent this note to the Fed Chair. It says, Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost, and there is no inflation. And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies. And we will continue to drive down the cost of living in this country for Americans. We will continue to deregulate. And it's also incredibly important that we pass this one big beautiful bill, which is the largest tax cuts in American history. And that's why the White House and the president himself have been in touch with lawmakers all weekend long to get this bill passed. And they are working very hard to do so. It remains a top priority for the president. And this bill has exposed the clear differences between Republicans and Democrats in 2025. The Democrats are doubling down on craziness and radical policies that are undermining the very fabric of our country. Just look at the Democrat nominee for New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani. He's a Democrat socialist, really a communist, who proudly calls to defund the police, peddles anti-Semitism, praises pro-Hamas groups, wants Israel abolished, and believes wealthy Americans should not exist. Those are his words, just as recent as this weekend. Meanwhile, under President Trump's leadership, Republicans are fighting tirelessly for everyday, middle-class, working Americans who re-elected this president. And we're carrying out a revolution of common sense, and all of that is packed into this one big, beautiful bill. It delivers the largest middle and working class tax cuts in U.S. history. It keeps America safe by funding the largest ever one-time investment in border security. It's enough to reverse the Biden border invasion. And every single Democrat is against that, against securing our border and deporting millions of criminal illegal aliens. The One Big Beautiful Bill also strengthens and protects Medicaid benefits, despite what Democrats are saying, for eligible American citizens who rely on it, like pregnant women, children, seniors, and people with disabilities, by eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse that threaten to destroy this program that was intended for the most vulnerable in our society. And every single Democrat in Congress is against rooting out that waste, fraud, and abuse, and blocking the 1.4 million illegal aliens who are currently improperly receiving these benefits that should be going to American tax-paying citizens. The Democrats in Congress are more concerned with defending illegal aliens than they are hardworking Americans. And the Big Beautiful Bill also revitalizes our military and enhances our defense capabilities, protects our country from emerging new threats by funding a cutting-edge missile defense system called the Golden Dome. And as we all know, the One Big Beautiful Bill makes the Trump tax cuts permanent. The White House and the President are adamant that this bill is passed and that this bill makes its way to his desk. Republicans need to stay tough and unified during the home stretch, and we are counting on them to get the job done. So, with that, we will take up questions. John Fredericks is in our new media seat today. John, thanks for being here. We'll kick it to you.
Thank you, Caroline. Let's get to the One Big Beautiful Bill first. It appears now you're going to get at least 50 votes in this Senate. There'll be some amendments. What is the president's confidence level in getting 218 votes in the House by the end of this week in order to sign it on Friday?
Well, look, we are very well aware, the President is very well aware, that this bill needs to not only pass out of the Senate, but it needs to go back to the House, and we need the full weight of the Republican conference to get behind this bill, and we expect them to, and we are confident that they will. The President has been working hand in hand with Senate Majority Leader Thune and also our House Republican leader, or the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, both of whom will be at the White House today to meet with the President yet again. I believe they were here this morning, actually.
I have one follow-up.
Sure.
You outlined Jerome Powell and the note that the president just sent to him. There are many who believe that Powell has been politicized in a lot of different ways. The president has not been shy about acting on things that he believes in. Why not just fire Jerome Powell and put in somebody that is going to lower rates? Why?
Well, it's a good question, and one you can ask the president, because that's a decision for him to make. But you're right to point out the politicization of the Fed, and it's very unfortunate for our country. But Jerome Powell cut rates numerous times ahead of the election when Joe Biden was in this Oval Office, but now he refuses to, and the economy is in a much better place. So there really isn't a good explanation for that, and the president is rightfully calling attention to it. Kelly.
Good afternoon. On Iran, the president posted on his social that he is not even talking to them anymore. When we were at NATO, he said he expected the U.S. and Iran to have talks as early as this week, and that he might even want to see a written agreement. What is the update now if he's saying he's not even talking?
So as I told you from the podium last week, I said the administration, and namely our special envoy Steve Witkoff, has been in communication both directly and indirectly with the Iranians. That communication continues. The president himself has not talked to Iran, which he...
Bauer tools give you the confidence to take on challenging home projects. With hundreds of corded and cordless tools and accessories, Bauer is ready to deliver. Whatever you do it for less. Only at Harbor Freight.
Tariffs fans, our famous pretzel ramen is back. It's piled high with our legendary pastrami and 2 slices of provolone cheese, all in a soft pretzel roll. The pretzel ramen is pure pastrami perfection, and it's only at Togo's.
Pointed out in his true statement. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. Does President Trump want Zoran Mamdani deported?
I haven't heard him say that. I haven't heard him call for that. But certainly he does not want this individual to be elected. I was just speaking to him about it and his radical policies that will completely crush New York City, which is obviously a city that the president holds near and dear to his heart.
There's this Congressman Andy Ogles. He wants the Attorney General Bondi to explore denaturalization proceedings because he thinks Mamdani could have misrepresented or concealed material support for terrorism based on rap lyrics he wrote in 2017. Does President Trump think this is a worthwhile use of the Attorney General's time?
Well, I'll let the president speak to that. I have not seen those claims, but surely if they are true, it's something that should be investigated.
And could President Trump see himself, you said you talked to him about this, could he see himself working with a mayor, Mamdani,
somebody who, on Meet the Press this weekend, was given 3 chances to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, but he couldn't.
Yeah, look, the president is always willing to work with everyone. He's working with Democrats across the country, Democrat governors, and he said he'll work with people on the far left. He works with Republicans. He works with people in the middle. He wants to do what's right for America, but surely someone who holds these values and is quite literally a communist and condemns every value that makes this country great. Common sense, law and order, low taxes, working hard, and earning your keep in this country. He's against all of that, and I think the president would find it difficult to work with someone like that. If he is elected, I'm sure you'll hear more from the president on that, but we'll have to see. Hopefully the voters of New York City choose wisely. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The president on Friday said that he was hopeful of a Gaza deal within the next week. Can you give us an update on any progress towards that, or on any talks that the White House is having with Israel on that?
Sure. Well, I know that Mr. Dermer is in Washington this week to meet with senior officials here at the White House. I also know that this administration is in constant communication with Israeli leadership, and the president himself speaks frequently, as you know, to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But this has been a priority for the president since he took office, to end this brutal war in Gaza. It is because of this president that humanitarian aid is being brought into the region. It's heartbreaking to see the images that have come out from both Israel and Gaza throughout this war, and the president wants to see it end. He wants to save lives, and however, the main priority for the president also remains to bring all of the hostages home out of Gaza. As you know, his tireless effort has brought home many of the hostages, including all of the American hostages who were held there. So he wants to see both things happen, and we're continuing to work very hard to do those things. Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. What is the White House's response to Senator Tillis's criticism articulated from the Senate floor yesterday, which he said passing the big, beautiful bill would betray President Trump's promise to protect Medicaid?
Well, he is just wrong. And the president and the vast majority of Republicans who are supportive of this legislation are right. This bill protects Medicaid, as I laid out for you, for those who truly deserve this program, the needy, pregnant women, children, sick Americans who physically cannot work. And what it does is it ensures that able-bodied Americans who can work 20 hours a week are actually doing so, and that will therefore strengthen and protect those benefits for Americans who need it, as well as cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, as well as getting 1.4 million illegal aliens off of the program. So all of those measures are actually going to protect it for those who need it. That's the president's position, and that's what this bill does, and that's why Republicans need to vote for it and get it to the president's desk.
That kind of criticism from a Republican senator, is that reason for concern for the passage of this?
No, it's not. We're confident this bill is going to be back at the White House by the 4th of July. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. On the New York mayoral race, does the president plan to make an endorsement? And secondly, on Jerome Powell, a lot of focus obviously has been on interest rates have been keeping them high, but a new controversy erupted today. My colleague first reported that he's facing Chairman Jerome Powell is facing accusations of lying to Congress, which is a potential crime, about luxurious details of the Fed's $2.5 billion renovation project. Senator Loomis's called attention to this. Some experts want him to be investigated. Does the White House want these allegations investigated and, if found substantiated, punished?
I'll have to take a look at those allegations, and I will raise them to the president's attention and let him speak on them himself. To your first question regarding the mayoral race, the president was asked that yesterday by Maria Bartiromo. He refused to give an endorsement, so you won't get one from me at this podium unless he wants me to do that. Phil, go ahead. And then I can go to you. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you. The president said that he's working on a temporary pause for immigration enforcement in certain industries. I'm wondering what you can tell us about how he's determining which industries are deserving of a pass. He mentioned farmers, but what about, say, construction workers? I mean, shouldn't there just be one standard here?
I don't have any more details to read out for you, but what I can tell you is that the White House is working closely every day with the Department of Agriculture as well as the Department of Homeland Security when it comes to workforce enforcement, worksite enforcement, I'm sorry. And the president's focus and the focus of this administration is, of course, to remove public safety threats from the streets and to deport as many of the illegal criminals, especially the violent criminals that we know are still here because of the previous administration. So that's the main priority and the goal.
And then the president has already made cuts to the office of the Director of National Intelligence, but now Senator Tom Cotton has put forward a bill that would cut the office by another 60%. What's the president's reaction to that legislation, and is this something that he would support those additional cuts?
I don't know if the president's even aware of that legislation, but I will get you a response if he is aware and if he wants to respond to it. Go ahead.
Thanks, Carolyn. You mentioned the dangerous wildlife at the alligator Alcatraz. Is that a design feature? Why is the president going with his mega bill in such a precarious position in the Senate? And then also, can you talk about the CBO estimate that it would add about 11 million uninsured?
Well, look, when you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape. We do know that some of these illegal criminals have escaped from other detention facilities, like one in New Jersey, which I know was recently reported on. So, of course, we want to keep the American people safe, and we want to remove these public safety threats from our streets, and we want to effectively detain them as best as we can. As for why the president is going, I think his trip to this detention facility actually underscores the need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill, because we need more detention facilities across the country. The last administration let in nearly 20 million illegal people from all over the world, and this administration is focused on arresting and detaining them. But in comparison to that 20 million illegal criminal population in our country, we only have 7,000 ICE agents in the interior who are doing this very important work. And so we obviously need more personnel, we need more resources, and that's why we need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill.
On the CBO
Go ahead. Yes, in the pink.
Oh, thank you all. Can you please share some details of China trade deal? Has the U.S. agreed to ease some export, technology export restrictions?
Sure. Well, the final language that was agreed upon in both Geneva and in London was signed just past week. We can get you that final text of the agreement. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
Eamon, and then behind you.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. So on Jay Powell, has the president got a short list of who he wants to see as Jay Powell's successor, and is he going to name a successor as early as this summer?
I won't get ahead of the president on any announcements on that.
Does he like Scott Bessent for the job?
Again, I won't get ahead of the president.
You know, on TikTok, if you could, real quick, he said yesterday he's got a buyer. The question there is, does he have a seller? Do you have any indication from the Chinese government that they've authorized the sale of TikTok to the U.S. or do U.S. buyers?
What I can tell you is that these discussions with China regarding the sale of TikTok have been ongoing at the highest level, and they will continue. As you know, we have another 90-day extension, and it's just to continue to work out this deal and make sure that TikTok stays on for the American people. That's the president's main goal, and this while protecting their privacy and their security. Behind you, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. The president has been calling for a deal in Gaza for 2 days, and many posts. Who is blocking the deal? And one other thing, when he posted on Netanyahu's trial, also he said it interferes with the negotiations on Iran and on Gaza. What did he mean by that?
I'm sorry, to your second question?
When he posted about the Israeli Prime Minister trial,
Yes.
he said it interferes with the negotiations on Gaza and on Iran. What did he mean by that?
It interferes because it physically and logistically was interfering. The prime minister was slated to go to court last week when he's in the middle of negotiating a peace deal and bringing hostages out of a war-torn region. And so the president was simply, I think, emphasizing his empathy that he has for Bibi Netanyahu and seeing him go what he's going through with his own judicial system in the state of Israel. Clearly, the president knows that very well. He, too, was a victim of a judicial system that was trying to put him in jail, as you all know. You all covered it. But President Trump prevailed. That's why he's back in the Oval Office, and he believes that Bibi Netanyahu is a great leader for the people of Israel. The president just worked with him closely to end that 12-day war and to obliterate Iran's nuclear facility, to take out that imminent threat, not just to the state of Israel, but also to the United States of America and the rest of the world. And he believes that Prime Minister Netanyahu should be praised for that. Go ahead.
On the mega bill and the amendment that would limit Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act, does the president want that amendment to pass?
The president wants this bill to pass.
Mary.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. On trade, we have this looming July 9th deadline coming up. We heard the Treasury Secretary say that he expects to wrap up these trade deals by Labor Day, but when President Trump was asked yesterday about any extensions by July 9th, he said he didn't think that would be necessary. So is the president ruling out any extensions on trade for any nations, even if they're negotiating in good faith?
Well, you heard from him directly. He said he did not think that it would be necessary. He is going to set the rates for many of these countries if they don't come to the table to negotiate in good faith, and he is meeting with his trade team this week to do that. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I just watched a CNN segment on a new app called Ice Block, and it kind of appeared to be promoting this app where you can tell people where ICE agents are. Given the recent rise...
An app that tells people where ICE agents are?
Yes. And given the rise, I believe, 500% increase in assaults on ICE agents, I want to see if you could comment on that and why CNN would be promoting such an app.
Well, it's a very good question. I'll have to go back and watch the clip myself, but surely it sounds like this would be an incitement of further violence against our ICE officers. As you know, as you stated, there's been a 500% increase in violence against ICE agents, law enforcement officers across the country who are just simply trying to do their jobs and remove public safety threats from our communities. And that's something we as Americans, including journalists at CNN who live in many of these cities where illegal aliens are hiding and were let in from the previous administration, should be very grateful for. So we haven't seen the clip. We'll take a look at it, but certainly it's unacceptable that a major network would promote such an app that is encouraging violence against law enforcement officers who are trying to keep our country safe.
Caroline,
Shelby.
I just wanted to get a clarification on the Senator Rick Scott's amendment. It sounds like the president is agnostic about whether it's attached. Is that accurate?
Look, I'm not going to get into the details of the discussions that are ongoing right now. The president wants these senators to come to a conclusion, to get this bill back to the White House as soon as possible and make sure that it's a piece of legislation that can make its way back through the House as well. So obviously there's some ping-ponging between both sides of Capitol Hill right now, but that's why Senator Thune and Speaker Johnson are working with the president in lockstep every step of the way. In the back, you station.
Thanks, Caroline. The president did announce. The president did announce last week that the trade deal with India is closed, and this could happen anytime soon. Are there any roadblocks as of now? Are there any updates on that? And how does the president see this about China's role or its influence in the Indo-Pacific region?
Sure, yes. The president said that last week, and it remains true. I actually just spoke to our Secretary of Commerce about it. He was in the Oval Office with the president. They are finalizing these agreements, and you'll hear from the president and his team, his trade team, very soon when it comes to India.
China? Counter China on that front?
Yes, I mean, look, India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia Pacific, and the president has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. On the reconciliation bill, Senator Tillis from the floor yesterday seemed to suggest President Trump was getting bad counsel on the effects of the bill. Is President Trump aware of the analyses, and there are several of these, that suggest if rural hospitals potentially close, if there are Medicaid patients in the millions that become ineligible for that?
Yes, and that claim is just simply untrue. Rural hospitals comprise 7% of all hospital spending on Medicaid, and that illustrates that they have not benefited from the massive increase of waste, fraud, and abuse under the Biden administration. So this bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need, and that's why the president wants this bill to pass. The senator was wrong. The president put out a Truth Social post addressing it, and then the senator announced he's no longer running for office anymore. So I think that case has been closed, and the White House is continuing to focus on getting this legislation to the president's desk for his signature. Go ahead. Yes, you.
Thanks so much.
Well, you and then you. There's confusion here.
On Syria.
Go ahead.
Syrian government get back to you that they are ready to join the Abraham Accord. Is there a discussion with the Syrian and Israeli government for having a security agreement? Is the first question. And the second question, what's the end goal for talking with the Iranians? Is that only talks on the nuclear program, or are willing to
speak about the other issues like the proxy groups and ballistic missiles or even trade with Iran?
So as for discussions between Syria and Israel, you'll have to reach out to those respective governments. I can't comment on that. But what I can tell you is that this afternoon, the president will be signing an executive order to terminate the United States sanctions program on Syria. And this is in an effort to promote and support the country's path to stability and peace. The order will remove sanctions on Syria while maintaining sanctions on the former President Assad, his associates, human rights abusers, drug traffickers, persons linked to chemical weapons activities, ISIS and their affiliates, and Iranian proxies. And this is, again, an action that the president promised and shocked the world with in Saudi Arabia, because he's committed to supporting a Syria that is stable, unified, and at peace with itself and its neighbors. The president met with Syria's new president when we were in the Middle East, as you know, and so this is another promise made and promise kept by this president to promote peace and stability in the region.
Go ahead, questions on two topics, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I would include here. First, on Canada. Canada says it's now dropping its digital services tax on American tech companies days after President Trump says he's holding on trade talks with Canada. First, what's the president's reaction to this? Can you tell us more about his call with Prime Minister Carney over the weekend? How did he get Carney to drop it? And also, what's the impact on American tech companies given this latest progress, as the president says he has been fighting for American tech companies?
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. And President Trump knows how to negotiate, and he knows that he is governing the best country and the best economy in this world, on this planet. And every country on the planet needs to have good trade relationships with the United States. And it was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax that would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States. The president made his position quite clear to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister called the president last night to let the president know that he would be dropping that tax, which is a big victory for our tech companies and our American workers here at home.
And on Harvard, if you don't mind, the administration today formally accused Harvard of violating civil rights laws by not doing enough to fight anti-Semitism. We know that the president has talked to us before.
Good afternoon, everybody. Did everyone have a good weekend? With anti-Semitic stickers, including one that showed the Israeli flag with a swastika. A Harvard campus was racked by demonstrations, as you all know, violent protests that violated the university's rules of conduct. The demonstrations called for genocide and murder, denied Jewish and Israeli students access to campus spaces. These are all facts that Harvard cannot dispute, and that's why the administration has found them in violation of Title VI and has threatened to withhold their federal funding, because if you break federal law, you should not be receiving federal tax dollars. And so I rest my case on Harvard. Andrea.
Yeah, so President Macron of France earlier today said that tariffs levied by powerful countries are often a form of blackmail, and criticized the sort of process that's underway. Didn't mention the United States specifically, but said that these tariffs are really hurting developing countries. So there's this big UN conference going on. What do you say to that? Was the president, was he aware of that comment, and did he have any response?
I think the president and the White House would certainly reject that characterization by Prime Minister Macron. Tariffs are an effective use of presidential power to bring back the middle class, to bring back our manufacturing industry, which was the backbone of our American economy and has been hollowed out by globalist politicians who have caved to foreign countries instead of doing what's right for American workers. That's why the president is effectively utilizing his authority to wage tariffs and to utilize tariffs, and continues to be in discussions and negotiations on trade to do what's right for America. And Europe and the rest of the world might not be used to that, but President Trump is back in town, and he's going to do what's right for our people and our country.
Follow up on Netanyahu. So there's a report in Israeli media that the Prime Minister will actually be here, that Netanyahu will be here today meeting with the President. Can you confirm that?
I don't believe Prime Minister Netanyahu is here today. I think you guys would know about that by now. Unless there's something going on I don't know about, but I don't believe he is. I do know he has expressed interest in coming to Washington and meeting with the president, and we are working on a date for that. I do not believe it is today, but that would be fun. You never know in this White House, let's be honest. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Does the president support this new measure in the big, beautiful bill that would impose steep new taxes on new wind and solar projects?
I believe you're referring to the credits for wind and solar projects. And what
about the new tax? There's a new tax that it's estimated would add 10 to 20% to the cost of any new wind and solar projects that start after this year.
Again, I don't want to comment on the specifics of provisions, but I'm sure the president will speak on that directly. Again, this is an ongoing process. The president continues to be very much engaged with the leadership in both the Senate and the House to get this bill back to his desk.
Did the president ask for that provision? Because the National Building Trades Union is saying that it's the equivalent of terminating more than 1,000 Keystone XL pipeline projects. Is that something that would concern him?
Well, the president spoke on this yesterday in his interview, and he said he understands that legislators want to protect jobs in their communities and in their districts. And so he understands why some of them are against this provision, but he also understands why people want the provision. So again, this is an ongoing deliberation and discussion, and the president is engaged in this very much. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. We've been hearing from White House officials for weeks that you're close on trade deals with a number of countries. Can we get any update on which countries will have deals by the 9th and when they're making any announcements?
I'll let the president and the trade team speak on it.
Can you respond to the CBO estimate that the Senate bill would increase the deficit by nearly 3.3 trillion?
This is one of the most fiscally conservative pieces of legislation that has ever made its way through Capitol Hill. There's $2 trillion in mandatory savings in this bill, and not only that, the projected growth that this bill will bring to our economy. It will be an economic boom. The Council of Economic Advisors has an analysis that shows that the bill will generate $4.1 trillion in economic growth, and it will cut taxes, putting more money back into the American people's pockets. That's why this president wants this bill to pass, and I know he's busy working the phones and doing what he needs to do today to make it happen. So we'll see you all later. Thank you. We'll see you in Florida.
Rose sparks are built differently than Viagra. Sparks are designed to dissolve under the tongue to hit your bloodstream faster than traditional pills, with a dual-action formula to deliver a stronger boost. Rose Sparks contain tadalafil, which lasts longer in your system, so you're ready to go for up to 36 hours. Sparks hit faster and stronger to work longer. Say it with me. Faster, stronger, longer. Sparks. See if Rose Sparks are right for you at ro.co/switch.
As a therapist myself, I know how important it is to be able to have someone that you can talk to about your problems, to bounce ideas off of, process your traumas and your stressors, especially when life is getting out of hand. And although everyone should have therapists like that they can talk to, sometimes it's difficult to find the right person who's the right fit for you and your needs. Thankfully, BetterHelp has an online quiz and tool that streamlines the entire process for you to better help you find a therapist that's willing to meet your needs by asking you what your preferences are, what your experiences are, what kind of therapy style you're looking for, and that way it can match you with the best therapist specifically for you. And thanks to BetterHelp's online platform, actually communicating with your therapist, whether it be via messaging, phone call, video chat, is incredibly easy. You can communicate with your therapist at times that are the most convenient for you so that you can have flexibility to communicate with them not only any time, but also anywhere. Whether that be at home, at a park, in your car, whatever's most convenient for you, things are flexible so you can get the help you need when you need it. If you feel like you're in hard times, you can try out BetterHelp for you.
They're suing all our companies. And if that's going to happen, we want to be the ones that sue, not them. And they use it almost as a form of running European countries, and the EU in particular has been very violent in its lawsuits against our companies, and frankly, very violent and very bad to our airlines. I've gotten calls from the heads of airlines saying they stop in Europe and they're getting charged all sorts of taxes that they never even heard of. They stop and they're getting fined and charged, and they do it only with American companies. They're not doing it to other countries, so we're stopping it. And we have another thing, we have another step to go, and if they don't shape up, as an example, Apple has had to pay like $17 billion in a lawsuit that nobody thought was worth anything. And I won't get into the judge or the decision or how the decision was arrived, but I'm pretty good at this stuff, and I think it's disgraceful. And Google's being sued, Facebook's being sued, and many others are being sued by their so-called government, if you call it a government, EU, and they don't treat us right. They don't treat us right as a country. So we're going to protect our companies. We have to protect our companies. So we're not going to have any companies left anymore. I also want to thank Apple, though, for announcing they're going to invest $500 billion in our country. That's the biggest investment anybody's probably made to this date. And they're going to do it very quickly, and that's because of tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and they feel very strongly about the country now. They wouldn't have done it without us. Without the Trump administration, they wouldn't have done it. But they feel very strongly about the direction of the country. The polls have shown that too. The polls are coming out showing direction of the company is of the country is the best they've ever seen, actually. Best they've ever seen. So I just want to thank Tim Cook and Apple for the confidence. $500 billion. That's the biggest investment anyone has made in a short period of time.
Mr. President, have you spoken today with the House Republican holdouts who
Yeah.
they would not be supporting the budget resolution?
Well, I'm not involved in that. They know what I want, and the Senate knows what I want too. And the Senate's got a bill that's very strong, having to do with the taxes, because the taxes is what's bringing all these companies in. So, and without it, by the way, you'd have to double your own taxes. Everybody would be doubled up, and or you'd have the biggest tax increase ever. So the House has a bill and the Senate has a bill, and I'm looking at them both, and I'll make decisions. But I don't know where they are in the vote. I know the Senate's doing very well, and the House is doing very well, but each one of them has things that I like. So we'll see if we can come together.
Mr. President, can you clarify, hopefully once and for all, what your expectations are with this email to federal employees? What are you going to use that information for? And do you see it as voluntary, like OPM has said, or?
Well, it's somewhat voluntary, but it's also, if you don't answer, I guess you get fired. What it really is do people exist? We have this massive government with millions of people, and nobody knows who's working for the government, who's not. So what they're doing is they're sending out a letter to everybody, and they're saying, what were the things you did last week? I guess they asked for 5. And if people are working, it's easy. I could tell you 5 things I did last week. I could tell you 5 things I did 6 weeks ago, right? If they're there and they're working, they're able to say they did 5 things during work. And that means they're working and they're with us and they have no further obligation. If they're not, it could be there's no such person. It could be that the person's no longer working. They're no longer living at that address. They may be moved. Maybe they moved to a different country, or maybe the person doesn't exist. And we then take that person off the payroll, and we save a lot of money by doing that. But that's one of the only ways. I think it's a very smart thing. And it says, if you don't answer, essentially, there's a penalty to pay. Like, that's the end of the job.
Musk has said that. The order itself doesn't say that. I think that's part of it. Is he speaking for you when he says?
Yeah. Everybody speaks for me. I'm the one. I'll take responsibility. The old statement, the buck stops here, right? Famous statement. Well, I can say the same thing. The buck stops here. No, we have to find out if people are getting paid and they're not working, and they have a problem. Let's say they have another job, and then they write in false statements. It's a big problem if they write in false statements. They may be working for somebody else, but getting paid by the U.S. government, and that would mean that they're not allowed to be doing that. They're not allowed to be working for us and be working for somebody else. We're paying them a lot of money. We're paying them. So we'll see. That solves that problem. Most people aren't willing to say that, we're doing this, and this, and...
All right, fam, this has been a pretty long live, and I think I'm going to call it a day. I've been doing some studying. But guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in with me and staying with me and watching the live with me. But I got to get to make some dinner and then do some studying. But guys, thank you guys for spending your day with me. I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you haven't subscribed, guys, I really wish you guys would. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Hope you guys enjoy your 4th of July. May God bless you all. May God bless the Republic. May God bless the United States. Have a wonderful evening.